Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Pretty good contact here as he hits it to deep right, and he's hit it out. Now that's a birthday present that George Springer just gave himself, and the Blue Jays have the early lead.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
How slinging it to the end zone. Was it caught? Yes! McLaurin! Touchdown!
I feel so close to you right now. It's a force field.
Happy Hump Day. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. That's Wednesday, October 4th, 2023. Just in case you didn't know what day it was. Today, we are 1 week from the Oilers season opener. They will be on the road in Vancouver. And then, of course, they play the Canucks again at home on Saturday, the 14th. The Oilers taking on the Flames tonight. We'll get to that, and we know for sure some of the guys who are in the lineup in case you are going to tonight's game, or maybe you want to go to tonight's game. We could send you. We'll see. It is the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website. Where, hey, do you believe in the Jays? Can they come back? Well, if you are a believer, go to PlayAlberta.ca. The Jays at PlayAlberta.ca are the underdog in Game 2 against the Twins, 2.19. So maybe you're feeling lucky. Also, you look at the Jays did not get off to the start they wanted, and now we'll see what happens. Tampa Bay. They lost yesterday, and they are trailing 1-0 early on. Arizona, the number 6 seed, did get the win on the road. And Phillies at home, not a huge surprise. I think a lot of people had the Phils as a pretty big favorite in that series against Miami. They are up 1-0. So, hey, it's day 2, and there's 4 teams facing elimination already. And that's what happens in a best of 3. Some people are like, well, Gregor, it's not playoffs. It's a best of 3. I'm like, did you say that about the Oilers when they played Montreal in the early 80s? That best of 3 aren't playoffs? I think they're playoffs. NFL's 1 game. Best of 3 to me is playoffs. Why are people trying to downplay it all of a sudden? I don't get it. I'm rather perplexed. So, Tampa, Toronto, Milwaukee, and Miami. The T's and the M's. Who's going to be in? Who's going to be out? Let us know. You can always text us 833-401-1440 in our Jiffy Lube inbox. Text us there. Leave us your thoughts. We already got lots coming in already, which is great. The Oilers lineup, here's what I know for sure. McDavid, Draisaitl, Kane, Nugent-Hopkins, Hyman, Brown, they're all in. Expect the Kane, McDavid, Brown line, Nugent-Hopkins, Draisaitl, Hyman line. Doesn't mean they'll stay that way all game, but I think so. Jay Woodcroft talked about getting his first unit power play together, which obviously would include Draisaitl, McDavid, Hyman, Kane, or one or the other, Nugent-Hopkins, and then, of course, Evan Bouchard. So Bouchard and Nurse will play. I know that Derek Ryan and Vincent Desharnais are 2 of the healthy scratches tonight. Desharnais already played 5 of the first 6 preseason games. He doesn't need to play every one, so he's not going to go tonight. And Derek Ryan, obviously not necessary for him to play tonight. I would expect both of them in the lineup on Friday. So Ryan McLeod, good news, Oilers fans. He did skate today with the main group. He's getting closer. He's not going to play tonight, but could see him on Friday in his first preseason game. According to Morgan Photo, there has been some lighthearted barb saying, hey, McLeod, chop, chop. Let's go. So if I look at the other, with McLeod out and Derek Ryan out, that leaves Lane Peterson and Brad Malone as 2 centers. So I would assume they're centering the 3rd and 4th line. You have Holloway and Fogle. Would they be with Peterson and he's just holding Ryan McLeod's spot? Very likely. And then that would leave Ernie, Lavoie, and Janmark. And I think Lavoie is going to play. So I think it's one of Ernie or Janmark who is out. On the back end, it's a little bit more up in the air. Cody Ceci hasn't played a home game yet. So do they want to play him at home today or do they wait until Friday? Maybe they wait and they get him and Kulak back in together on Friday. We'll see. Kulak's not going to play tonight. Ekholm obviously is not going to play. Dare Harney is not going to play. So that leaves 7 D-men. So that just means one of Ceci, Broberg, Kemp, Niemelainen, Dineen, one of them won't go tonight for the Edmonton Oilers. Stuart Skinner will get his 3rd and final preseason start tonight for the Edmonton Oilers. So the Oilers still have 3 defensemen that they have to get rid of. We're probably assuming that it's going to be Dineen, Gleason, and Kemp. You look at Rodrigue and Pickard as goaltenders. And then up front, there is, when McLeod's healthy, there's 15 forwards. They're only going to start with 12. So 3 of Malone, Ernie, Lavoie, and Peterson. 3 of those 4 will be put on waivers, barring injury between now and the waiver wire deadline, which is next Monday. So there you go. If you're going to the game tonight, you will see the Oilers' top guys. The Calgary Flames, on the other hand, not really bringing a big lineup by any stretch of the imagination. All right, you look, none of their top 6 forwards look to be playing. Their lineup includes Sharon Govich with Ruzicka and Dubé, Klapka, Schmint and Dewar, Siona, Hunt and Pospisil, Honzek, Zari, and Pedersen. On defense, Osterley, Zadorov, Poirier, and Gilbert, Solovov, and now I don't even, is it D. Simone? I think it's D. Simone or D. Simon. I think it's D. Simone. And then, of course, Dan Vladar will get the start in goal. So Vladar, I guess he's excited to say, okay, I'm probably going to get a lot of shots. Probably going to have to face some quality chances. We'll see how he does. You know, there's him and Dustin Wolf battling for the backup job. And Wolf, of course, has been excellent 2 years in the American League. Some would say he's got nothing left to prove there, and you could be fair. You could be accurate. But he doesn't require waivers. I don't think Calgary's going to want to put Dan Vladar on waivers and lose him for nothing. So, now maybe they will. He does make $2 million. So, maybe they would consider it. I'm not sure. Hey, guys. The Oilers website has Calvin Pickard. Calvin Pickard's not starting. I can tell you it's Stuart Skinner starting. 100% Stuart Skinner starting. It's not, I don't know because Calvin Pickard's name is listed on it, and the Oilers don't have the full lineup. They just have the 8 defensemen, the 13 forwards that I listed, and they have 2 goalies. But trust me, Stuart Skinner is starting. I can tell you that. They're not going to have Stuart Skinner not start a game, or Jack Campbell leading up to the season opener. We know Calvin Pickard's not going to play here. Why? It doesn't make any sense for them to start him, right? At all. So, hey, boys, how do I get one of those Sports 1440 hats? It's a good question. Good question. We have some ideas. You know, some will be giveaways. And then the others, you might just make a purchase of $25, get you the hat, but all the money goes to charity. That's what I think we might do. It's hard to buy a hat for 25 bones now. Very difficult. So you can see the hat if you like right now on our Oilers Nation YouTube channel where we have the show. If you're watching, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you go there. But Connor has the white one on. I have the royal blue one, and they're looking rather sharp, if I do say so myself. So there we go. Hey, guys, do you think there's anybody on the waiver wire that would interest the Edmonton Oilers? I don't see, again, if they pick up anybody on the waiver wire, like there's no defenseman. They're not going to pick up a defenseman just to send Philip Broberg down to the minors. Like, I'd be stunned if that happened. So then forward-wise, if they pick up anybody on waivers, and because they got to be on the 23-man roster, then for sure you're wavering Raphael Lavoie, unless you think they're going to shock everybody and waive Derek Ryan or Matthias Janmark. Right? Like, I'd be surprised. Right? Like Matthias Janmark, I know he started last year in the minors. Didn't really do much in preseason. Right? So I think it's a little bit different this season. Last year, he had a good year in Edmonton. So, yeah, I think the waiver wire is often very overhyped by people. Remember, look at Ottawa fans. We're losing their mind. Oh, my goodness. Terrible asset management. They're going to lose Docker. They're going to lose all the... Neither one got claimed. Both their young guys went through waivers yesterday and are in Belleville now in the American League. So I think at times every fan base and some media people in that city are guilty of overrating the person who goes on waivers and be like, well, everybody's going to claim him. I will say this, though. Edmonton is a legit cup contender. Being put on waivers by the Oilers is different than being, not making the Oilers doesn't mean you can't make Anaheim or some of the other bottom feeder teams that the Oilers used to be. Right? It's very different now. So we'll see how it goes in that regard. Today on the program, got a loaded show for you, as always. Matt Vederame will join us, talk some NFL football. Big week coming up. Oof. I'll say this about the Thursday nighter tomorrow. You might want to consider dressing some Washington Commanders against the Bears. Now, I don't know who your starting quarterback is. You probably don't need to add their quarterback, but if you were ever thinking about it, like the Bears just gave up a lot of points to Denver, who couldn't score to save their life. I shouldn't say they couldn't score to save their life. Russell Wilson had averaged about 2 touchdown passes per game, which isn't terrible at all. So, but Washington, if you've got some of their receivers or running backs, I might really strongly consider putting them in the lineup tomorrow night. There are some games. Oh my goodness! Like which Miami player wouldn't you dress against the Giants right now in fantasy? Oh my goodness, they're going to crush it. Same with Detroit. Right? And what about Montgomery? Can this last? Montgomery's killing it, but he's basically like Jamal Williams was last year. Connor Halley. Remember him? He was just a touchdown machine. Didn't he have like 16 touchdowns or something stupid last year?
Yeah, led the league in rushing touchdowns. Eckler had it total touchdowns, but for sure, Jahmyr Gibbs fantasy owners probably in a little bit of confusion right now. What's he going to be doing? I know he's getting no love in the red zone, so it looks like Montgomery's the guy there. Gregor also the Chargers, sending J.C. Jackson back to the Patriots, and the Broncos releasing Randy Gregory. So kind of a busy day.
What do you make of J.C. Jackson trade?
On YouTube, see ya. He was awful. He was terrible. Chargers lost that week 1 game by 2 points. He gave the Dolphins a free field goal at the end of the first half. Was pretty big. He wasn't made for the Chargers system. I don't think he had some injury problems in year 1. Tried to battle back. It just wasn't working out. And he was been a healthy scratch for a couple of weeks. So classic Bill Belichick move, right? Let the guy go get paid, then bring him in for a 6th round pick. But yeah, I think it's probably best for both sides that J.C. Jackson moves on from the Chargers.
All right. Okay. It's also Who Is It Wednesday today. So on Who Is It Wednesday, our guest today has he spent 13 years in the NHL, but he's been around the NHL for much longer. Okay, that's one hint. Number 2, he has the 5th most goals from his draft class, which, pretty good, I would say. He's also a multiple Stanley Cup winner. Those are our first 3 hits for Who Is It Wednesday, which, of course, happens every Wednesday at 3 o'clock right here on Sports 1440 or live on Oilers Nation YouTube. If you think you know who it is, send us a guess. Usually when we give our 2nd and 3rd rounds of hints, somebody always figures it out, which is good. So if you think you know who it is, let us know. Hey, guys, a lot of people are speculating the Bears might fire Matt Eberflus if Chicago loses on Thursday. Well, I guess. Why, I guess, would be my question. If you know the season's done, why would you fire him, bring someone else in, and suddenly you win 4 or 5 games and you don't get the first overall pick? Like, maybe that's a loser mentality on my part, but I don't know if it's just coaching. It's easy to want to blame one individual. To me, this issue seems much bigger than one individual. That's where I would come out on this. They're not very good. So, you could fire your GM, you can fire your coach, you can fire your head scout, you can change your quarterback. The Bears, they got a lot of problems. Don't you think, Cons?
They do. They tried to throw a lot of money into that defense in this offseason as well, which we'll see could come back to haunt them if it does not perform. I don't know if Matt Eberflus is the guy as you want as your head coach. Obviously, it hasn't been a very good start. It's looking back at it, the Matt Nagy years were even better than this. But I'm with you. You're in a tough division. You're not going to win it. At 0-4, you're basically done. So why not ride it out? Maybe you get to week 6 or 7, or before the trade deadline, you sell off Justin Fields. That could be a thing. And they do have 2 first-round picks coming up here. And if they do have that first overall pick, obviously Caleb Williams is the guy out at USC.
Well, and not just 2 first-rounders, dude. Like, they got Carolina's pick.
It could be top 5. Could be 1, 2.
Could have 2 top 3 picks at the rate they're going.
So really, I mean, if you were in that situation and you draft Caleb Williams and then hypothetically you look at Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State, like, that would be a dream. And I would think, even though people have said that Caleb Williams could stay at USC for a senior year, the opportunity to go to an offense like that would be pretty tempting playing in Chicago. They haven't had much quarterback success in their history. Some tough names and guys that have had tough careers going to Chicago. But yeah, I don't know what Eberflus firing him does at this point. Who are you going to bring in, or what are you trying to accomplish at that point? It's only been a year. I think you let him ride it out, and if you keep on losing, he's gone, and you go from there.
We got a few guesses. Hey, guys, what about Sam Gagne? Also, congrats on the show in the station, Gregor. Great to hear you back in the airwaves. You're definitely missed on my radio. That one comes in from Darren. Nice. Well, thanks, Darren. We appreciate that. That's great. Sam Gagne, good guess. Incorrect. So, not Sam Gagne, although he would be a very good guest to get on Who Is It Wednesday. I think a future Who Is It Wednesday guest, for sure. But not today's guest. Hey, what about Ray Whitney from Mill Creek Dog Walker? I like the hashtag Mill Creeker. Ray Whitney, heck of a player. Now, there was a guy who was a very good waiver wire pickup, right? And when he was placed on waivers, the Oilers had, back then, a little bit different time now. You kind of just went, hey, they had Waite and Arnott as their top 2 centers, and he wasn't going to play here. Got on waivers, and man, his career took off. It was outstanding to see. Outstanding. And with over 1,000 games played, man. It was awesome. Let's take a quick break. We will return. We get some hockey and NFL talk in hour number 1 of the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, live on Sports 1440 and Oilers Nation YouTube.
Japa Machinery Group knows that
Portions of this hour brought to you by Mr. Rooter Plumbing. At Mr. Rooter, they only employ the finest organic, grain-fed, free-range plumbers. For all your plumbing needs, go to mrrooter.ca.
Sports Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Rolling through a lovely Wednesday afternoon on Sports 1440. It is the Jason Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Hope you are having an awesome day. Maybe you're going to the game tonight. Enjoy it. You will see all the Oilers' top two lines. Nurse and Bouchard are in. Skinner's in for sure. We're not 100% sure on who's going to be the second and third pairings. We know Desharnais not playing. Ekholm's not playing. Kulak's not playing. Up front, Ryan McLeod is out. Derek Ryan is out. And that means that one other forward will get the night off for the Edmonton Oilers. And then, of course, they have their final preseason game against Seattle on Friday. And then a week today, they drop the puck on another season against the Vancouver Canucks in Vancouver. Let's get to the NFL report now, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling, home with no payments, no interest for 1 year on your furnace. Stay warm all winter at legacyheating.ca. And it is another week. There's never ending storylines in the NFL. And from Sports Illustrated, Matt Vederame joins us once again. Matt, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, I'm great. My question is, how many points? Are we talking 30 points minimum for Washington tomorrow against this Bears defense? What are you thinking?
I got to tell you, the way this thing's going, all things are possible. You were just talking about hockey. I mean, at this point, if you're in Chicago, you are waiting for Connor Bedard because there is nothing else to be excited about. But Connor Bedard might be worth the wait, so we'll see. Yeah, I think Washington, Sam Howell actually has been pretty aggressive throwing the ball down the field. And the problem for Washington is he's been sacked, I believe it's 24 times, which is impossible. I mean, you're talking he's on a rate to be sacked something like, what would it be? It'd be 102 times this season. But the Bears can't get home. They can't get any pressure. They can't do anything. So it seems like an ideal matchup for the Commanders, who obviously are 2-2, and they're trying to get right. They've lost a couple games here. The Bears are just a disaster. Other than just Howell throwing the game away, I don't see a scenario where the Bears win. Maybe they keep it close. Maybe they do enough offensively where they keep it like 30-23 or something. But I don't foresee them winning. And then the whole question becomes, does Eberflus survive if they lose on Thursday night?
Well, and that's my question about Eberflus. So you could fire the coach. I'm not sure he's it's not a one-person issue here, right? So he wasn't the guy who traded Khalil Mack, who just rounded up. You mentioned they can't get to the quarterback, and he just had 6 sacks. So the issues in Chicago, man, the only good thing for them is they're going to have 2 top 5 picks most likely. Right. And then obviously they got to make them count. But what's your thoughts on getting rid of him? What would it achieve other than just give people their ounce of flesh or pound of flesh that they might need?
Yeah, nothing. It accomplishes nothing. We just, Gilberto Manzano and I, Gilberto being one of the writers over at SI as well with me, we talked about this in our podcast today. I don't think it accomplishes anything. We both kind of felt the same way. I mean, yeah, sure, you can fire Eberflus. You can get rid of him. And who the heck's coming in to replace him? It's going to be a Luke Getsy? Because I don't think that's exactly the most inspiring thing that's ever happened in Chicago sports history. And they don't have a defensive coordinator right now. Eberflus is a defensive coordinator. So what are you doing? Who's taking the reins here? I almost think at this point you're better off just saying, look, he's coaching the rest of the year, period. That's what's happening. And if we go 2-15, they fired. And if you're that bad, you're going to have, you would think, that a 1 overall pick. And you're going to be able to draft Caleb Williams. And at that point, you can then dangle this job and say, hey, we're going to have Caleb Williams on a rookie deal for 5 years. And you get to live in the 3rd largest city in the United States. And we have all this additional cap space. Come coach the Bears. But the reality is, everybody can blame Eberflus. I'm based outside Chicago. I hear all this stuff every day. The reality is this is an ownership on down problem. The Bears have stunk at hiring coaches, at hiring general managers, at figuring out who the quarterback is for decades. I mean, this isn't new. This is like a post-Mike Ditka problem where they have never gotten this right, with to some degree, Lovie Smith notwithstanding. So it's just an organizational failure over and over and over.
You know, Justin Fields, he actually had a decent game against Denver, but a lot of people say, well, it's Denver, and that's fair. You know, it was one of the best passing games of his career, but what have you seen in his progress development? Is it on him? Is it on the play calling? Is it on the O-line? What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. It's all the above, right? I mean, the offensive line has not been particularly good. You know, they're trying to get him to play differently. And look, they've taken a lot of heat locally for that. I'm sure, you know, some nationally, of course, as well. But they have to get Fields to win more in a conventional fashion from the pocket. That doesn't mean he's got to just be a Kirk Cousins, right, where he takes 3 to 5 steps and throws the ball. But everything can't be he's going to run for 1,200 yards and they're going to feel great about that. I mean, he did that last year. They went 3-14. So you need him to win from the pocket more and win in a more structured passing attack on a regular basis. And that's why they went out and they got DJ Moore. And that's why they went out and got Chase Claypool. Now, Claypool has been an unmitigated disaster. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, look, it's the fact that other than Moore, this team just has nobody who they can reliably throw the ball to. Komet and Mooney are decent players, but they're not guys you look at and game plan around. And the offensive line has been subpar. The play calling has been geared toward playing Fields in a way where he's not comfortable playing. And all of it adds up to a team that is in complete disarray. And frankly, you look at and think you're going to have a really hard time seeing him win more than 3 games this season.
It's interesting what you mentioned about Fields because we had the Seahawks quarterback coach, Kerry Joseph, on the program yesterday. And he talked about how when he played, he hated when a coach, you know, you'd go all week and maybe ask you to make a certain throw and you couldn't do it. And then come game time, he'd call the play. And you're like, what? I haven't been able to complete that all week. Why would you ask me to do it? So you look at the Bears, and that's where I think it's, what do you do? I can't just blame the quarterback. You know what Justin Fields is good at. So game plan around what he's good at rather than trying to make him play to his weaknesses.
I agree. I mean, look, at some point to succeed on a real level, he's going to have to learn how to win in a more conventional way, along with being able to run for a lot of yards and being able to move. That being said, though, to your point, look, at some point, did you not see him in training camp? Like, did you not see him in OTAs? Did you not understand that this wasn't going to work? And if you did what you were just outlining and they just said, hey, the heck with it, we're going to ask them to – it's like if you ask the Oilers to just decide all of a sudden, hey, guys, listen, we're going to play the trap now. And we're going to win every game 2-1.
Yeah, it's nice.
Because that's the way we want to play. You'd be like, that's nice. That's not going to work, right? I mean, there are certain teams and certain players that they're not going to fit a certain little box that you want them to fit in. And I think the Bears are trying to get Fields to do something that, as you point out, clearly is not working.
Matt Vederame joins us talking all things NFL. Matt, what do you make of the Bengals? I don't think there's been a bigger disappointment to start the season. And I get that Joe Burrow's coming off the injury, but if he can't play, then put someone else in there. But like, it's not that they can't play. They can't do anything offensively. Like their offense in 2 of those games was borderline just offensive.
Oh, it wasn't borderline. It was offensive. They've scored 3 offensive touchdowns in 4 games. Oh. They can't do anything. And if you look at Burrow's numbers, I don't care. Pick a number. Pick any of them. Yards per attempt, passing yardage, touchdowns, QBR. He's in the bottom 5 in everything.
Yeah.
He's been awful. And again, I don't even blame Burrow. Like, Burrow's clearly just a shell of who he normally is. And if you watch the games, and I've watched every snap he's taken this year, he has no base. He can't throw. He's fading away. He's not driving off this right foot and right calf. That's why everything's short, and every time he throws the ball deeper to the outside, it just sails. And if it gets there, it's a rainbow. He can't drive the football. And the other problem is, and frankly the bigger problem, he can't protect himself. He can't move. I mean, the Titans in that game just teed off on him over and over and over with these interior blitz packages because they knew he wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't understand if you're Cincinnati, what is the point of all this? You're not winning with him playing the way he's playing. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose to Arizona this weekend. Dobbs has played better than Burrow's played this year. So to me, if I were the Bengals, I'd sit them the next 2 games, Cardinals, Seahawks, and then I'd say, all right, look, we're gonna bring them back after the bye week, which comes after the Seattle game, and you give them a month. And hopefully, if you're Cincinnati, you win one of those games. You're 2-4. You hope you get healthy. But to play him like this is ridiculous. He's at a huge risk of injury, and he can't play. It's not like he's at a risk of injury and he's playing great. Nothing's working. So yeah, I'm with you. The Bengals right now are in about the worst way possible with Burrow.
Like, is Jake Browning that bad that they don't even want to give him a try?
I got to tell you, I was at training camp as part of my camp tour, and I saw the Bengals, and I saw Jake Browning.
Yeah.
I understand why the Bengals don't want to turn to Jake Browning.
Okay.
At the same point, here's my qualm about this. Teddy Bridgewater was available for weeks after Burrow got hurt. Why didn't you go sign Teddy Bridgewater? You're going to tell me Bridgewater couldn't have this team 500 without Burrow?
Yeah.
I don't believe that for 2 seconds. I mean, I don't understand what the thought process was. Like, did they just think all summer, well, Burrow's going to be back by week 1 and be fine? I mean, even if they thought that, and they're very coy about it all summer, you try to understand what the thinking is. It's hard to. Even if they thought that, don't you think you'd want a better insurance policy than a guy who's never played an NFL game? I don't understand what it was. And now you're to a point where, they were 2-2. If they were even, certainly 3-1 or better, maybe they would sit him for a few weeks. But now they almost can't. Now you're to a point where you've got to win some of these games. And I just think it's all gone downhill. They know Mixon and Boyd are gone after this year. Higgins is a free agent after this year. This is a huge year for the Bengals, and it has been a nightmare to this point.
What's interesting, as you mentioned, Teddy Bridgewater, Matt, is you look at how many games are started by backups last year. There was 141 games started by backups, not even including, like Aaron Rodgers this year, even though it was 3 minutes, he would technically be considered a starter in that game. And so that's a lot of time, right? And you have 72 different guys played quarterback. And there's so many teams that are just like, okay, we got our starter. We're going to invest nothing into our backup, even though the numbers will tell us the odds are we're going to have them for at least a few starts every year. It's kind of mind-blowing to me.
I mean, think about over the last handful of years, how valuable backup quarterbacks have been to Super Bowl teams. I think about the Chiefs. Think about the playoff game last year with Chad Henne driving them 98 yards against Jacksonville, and Mahomes was getting x-rayed.
Yeah.
And a few years before that, when Mahomes got hurt in Denver, and Matt Moore came in and won 2 games for him, and it was a difference between getting a bye and not getting a bye. Like, it does matter. To your point, 141 games, I mean, heck, if you do quick, simple math, that's over 4 games per team on average. To not have, listen, I understand it. If you're a team that you're not good, and maybe you're just investing in other spots, you go, listen, it doesn't make sense for us to put $10 million into a backup. Okay, I get that. If you're a competitive team, how do you not have any plan at backup? Like Sam Darnold's not great, but he's a good backup.
Mm-hmm.
Blaine Gabbert's not great, but he's a good backup. Gardner Minshew, the Eagles for the last couple years, very. And you have no plan whatsoever. And by the way, the Bills have also fallen into this category with Matt Barkley. Like, how do you have nobody who can win a football game behind these quarterbacks? I mean, even if it's for 2 weeks, that could be the difference between a 1 and a 5 seed. I agree. It's a complete oversight.
Yeah, it's I don't get it. One last one for you. When you look ahead, Miami, I guess they got the best possible bounce back for them. But what do you make of that game last week in Miami and, quite the flex by the Bills?
Yeah, look, we've seen the Bills do this before, and that's not taking away from the win. The win was incredible. They're averaging 41 points over the last 3 games. They're second in points allowed defensively. Although they are 28th in yards per play allowed defensively, which is bizarre considering how good they've been points-wise. But the Bills look great. My question with Buffalo is just going to be, what does it look like in January? Because at this point, you know what the Bills can do in the regular season. It's all about proving it here as we come down the stretch in a few months. Miami, I picked the Bills in this game because I felt like Miami just couldn't stop. Now, I didn't expect them to score 48 points. But this is the problem Miami's going to face. When you play teams that don't have offensive firepower near the Dolphins, but you're gonna win the game, right? Yeah. You're just gonna outscore these teams. The problem becomes when you play the Bills, when you play Kansas City, those teams can stop you occasionally. Those teams aren't going to give up 35-plus points. And so you've got to get off the field against the Allens of the world, against the Mahomeses of the world. And right now, Miami, I have no confidence they can do it. It's a long season. I think Fangio's an excellent coordinator. He's got a lot of work to do because that defense is going to be their Achilles heel here if it doesn't get right.
Matt, great stuff, my man. We appreciate one last one for you. Is there anybody that you look at, any matchup that you see a good underdog this weekend that you feel like, hey, you know what? Here's an upset coming.
I'm trying to think of the whole schedule in my head real quick. I would say, I don't know that I feel like it's an upset coming, but Jacksonville, that's a weird spot for Buffalo. Part of the reason I picked Buffalo last week was the Dolphins scored 70 points against Denver. And you're never going to play better than that, right?
Yeah.
The Bills now, you're never going to play better than the way they played last week. Now you're going to go to Europe for what is essentially, technically is a home game.
Yeah.
And you're playing a Jaguars team that's already over there, that is very comfortable playing in England, and a team that needs to win a little bit more, plus the unfortunate loss of Tre'Davious White.
Yeah.
How does that affect Buffalo's defense? I wonder if this is one of those games where everybody goes, man, the Bills are just going to roll again. And then all of a sudden, wow, what happened? 27-23 Jacksonville. I would not be shocked if Jacksonville finds a way to win that game.
And what about the Cowboys-San Fran? Looks like maybe the game of the week. San Fran's defense has been good, but hasn't been as dominant as you would expect. And Dallas's defense is ridiculous right now. So what do you make of that game?
I think it's a very good game. I think, look, it's 3.5 over on SI Sportsbook. I believe the Cowboys are going to cover the spread. I'm picking the Niners, but I'll say this. One of the mistakes so many teams make when they play really good fronts and really good defenses, they don't want to go down the field. And part of that is, there's much time, obviously. But if you're Dallas in this game, you've got to challenge those corners on the Niners. Gervais Ford is a good player, but they're not great corners. You've got to take your shots in this game with Lamb and Cook. Stretch the field. Make the Niners defend deep down the field. And I think if you do that, that opens up a lot of that underneath stuff. Then you keep them off balance. Prescott and McCarthy in this game, they've got to be willing to take the shots. On the other side of it, if you're the Cowboys, I'm packing in 10 yards and in, and I'm making Purdy beat me over my head. And if he does it, he does it. Fine, tip your cap, move on. But I think you got to put a lot of dime looks out there. If they want to run the ball, let them. Make them beat you by running the ball 40 times in the game and hitting a couple of deep shots. I'm not giving up those crossers to Samuel and Ayuk and Kittle where they just kill you on those yards after the catch.
Matt, as always, man, we appreciate it. Thanks for it. Enjoy the weekend in the NFL.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
That is Matt Vederame. And hey, I mixed in a little bit of hockey. He's all up in Bedard in Chicago. Hey, Connor Bedard in Chicago right now is getting a lot of play. Although, people are upset because he might have slapped for a pass too hard. Really? I don't think his teammates are going to get upset because he's, hammering the ice for a pass. I think he'll be fine. This is the NFL Report brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. We'll get to the oil report. Oilers' #1 power play wants to get ready for the NHL season. Crazy part is, even if they just do what they did the last 4 years, average 29%, still going to be ridiculous. 32.4, that's hard to match, baby. But if you look at history, the good power plays, they stay good. I don't see a significant drop-off. They might, and I'm in quotations here, only be 30%. All right? I think their power play is going to be dangerous, but look for them to be together tonight, and we'll return on the Jason Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
I
Sports Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
We return on a Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back to the Jason Gregor Show. Presented by PlayAlberta.ca. I've noticed in the last 24 hours, people get really upset about someone having fun. Life's not, you're not allowed to have fun. No. No celebrating allowed. Like, did you just, have you like, you lived underground? Or is this your first year watching sports, specifically baseball? Complaining about the Jays celebrating by making the MLB playoffs, which is a tradition that has happened now for decades in MLB. That's what they do in Major League Baseball. You get in the playoffs. Now, it used to be 4 teams. They've expanded it. I don't care. It's not like there's, well, only the top 8 teams or 4 teams can celebrate. It's not how it works. It's a different sport. They have different rules. They have different traditions. Guess what? Arizona was the 6th seed. They celebrated, and they won game 1. Toronto was the 6th seed. They celebrated, and they lost. Guess what? The celebration, absolutely nothing to do with it. And if you don't like it, fine. But complaining about it is moronic. It's happened forever. It has no bearing on the outcome of the series. Nothing. Zilch, zero, nothing. You're basically just exposing yourself as somebody who is either a fun sponge or doesn't understand the history of baseball playoffs. It's just that simple. I'm sorry. God, it's annoying. It's annoying. Huh. Let's get to the oil report now. Brought to you by Volvo of Edmonton. You know what isn't annoying? The deals you can get right now at Volvo. You want a new vehicle, a demo, or a certified pre-owned Volvo? You can get one for only 1.49% financing. It's a pretty great deal at VolvoEdmonton.com. Oilers taking on the Calgary Flames tonight. We are going to see the Oilers' top 2 lines for sure. We are going to see Nurse and Bouchard. We're going to see Stuart Skinner. And you're going to see, majority NHL forwards for sure. 4 of Fogle, Holloway, Ernie, Lavoie, and Janmark are going to play. Malone and Peterson are playing because they're the 3rd and 4th line centers, with Ryan McLeod not yet playing, although he did skate today. And then on the defense, we might see Cody Ceci. He hasn't played a home game yet. But there's Deneen, and there's Niemelainen, and there's Gleason, and there's Broberg, and there's Ceci. And one of them won't play. Tyler Yaremchuk from Oilers. Now I know he's a huge Jays fan. Well, we'll get to hockey in a second, but is it just me, or is the whining about celebrating gone? It's past the point of lunacy right now.
Oh, I mean, part of it for me is like, you can kind of tell who are the hockey fans who are just tuning into the end of the baseball season, because hockey always does that whole like our sport's better kind of bravado, like, oh, hey, come on, you would never celebrate winning the regular season in hockey. But you're right, it's baseball tradition. Like, think back to when that would have started, and 4 teams in each league, so 8 of 30 were making the playoffs. You had to win your division to make the playoffs. Like, yeah, damn right, those guys were celebrating. Also, a 162 game grind is unlike anything else in sports in terms of the longevity. 2-3 days off, only a month. I think those guys deserve to celebrate.
Yeah. Now, the Edmonton Oilers, they don't want to celebrate anything. They'd obviously love to celebrate in June of 2024, but it's a long time between now and then. There's 2 preseason games left. You know what? There's really only ever been, I think, 1 job opening. And I still think there's only 1 job opening. There's Malone, there's Pettersson. Some might say Malone's not really in. So there's Pettersson and Ernie and Lavoie, and some would say it's Lavoie's job automatically. Where do you stand right now with 2 preseason games? And do you think anything can change tonight or Friday as far as the 12th forward goes?
I think things can still change, just because I don't think anyone who's battling for that job yet has really grabbed the bull by the horns and really taken charge here. Like, I would have loved to see Raphael Lavoie look a little bit more engaged physically, have a couple of like really dominant moments. I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen Adam Ernie really look like he's wanted this job significantly more than anyone. No one's stood out head and shoulders above the group. So I still think there's an opportunity for we'll throw Lane Peterson in the conversation, for one of those three to really do that in the final two games and change Jay Woodcroft and the coaching staff's minds. But I'll be honest, it's been kind of disappointing to not be talking about an electric performance from Lavoie or a couple of really, really great moments from Adam Ernie. They've just been kind of ho-hum.
Which is probably okay because too often, hey, the Ty Ratty Award, Anton Lander, Magnus Perry, we've seen lots of guys. Heck, Dylan Holloway even a little bit last season, right? People get almost too excited about a preseason, and then it's impossible to live up to because you're just not going to be in those situations. So I've actually liked Raphael Lavoie's game overall. He hasn't jumped off the sheet every time. We've seen his shot. He's used his shot a lot. Right. Yep. He's got the most shots per 60 of anybody who's played. I think only Fogle has more shots than him so far. So at 5-on-5, that is. So I've actually I've kind of liked Lavoie. My question for Lavoie, and unfortunately you don't get to see it tonight because Calgary's coming with more of an AHL lineup than an NHL lineup. Like that to me is the hard part. That preseason now, it's very difficult to really get a sense of what you have in a player because I don't get to see NHL players very often.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of what sucks about all these teams doing 8 preseason games is you never want to send your really big guns out on the road. I know the Oilers kind of did with Seattle, but it's rare. So it is a bit of a shame that, a guy like Lavoie hasn't gotten a ton of competition that's purely NHL caliber. It's been kind of a mixed bag up until this point, but I'm starting to change my mind a little bit on Lavoie. Like, again, he's been good. I think, you could very easily give him that 12th forward spot and I wouldn't complain at all. But at the same time, I'm watching the quality of young players that are slipping through the waiver wire with Ty Smith and Jacob Bernard-Docker. And I know they're D-men, and that's different because there's twice as many forward spots on a roster. But I'm kind of starting to think as this has gone along and as I'm watching the waiver wire every day that maybe you could sneak Lavoie through and let him go play in Bakersfield for another 30 games.
Well, see, that's always the question.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a great conversation every year because I think it'll get claimed. Like people in Ottawa were freaking out yesterday. Mm-hmm. They thought they were going to lose both of their 2 more young players. They lost none of them. Right. They both went through waivers. And so now they're in Belleville. And it's a good question. Like I look at Lavoie and I'm like, okay, 6'4", 215. There's not a lot of those guys. He can shoot that. Like he could really shoot the puck, but he's never played an NHL game. And so, other teams have guys similar, not maybe similar size, but similar. And I could see why Edmonton would be leery because they just don't have a lot of, and if all of a sudden they lose 2 forwards to injury, they don't have a boatload of guys down there.
Yeah, you would like to, again, it's just such a shame that Lavoie isn't waiver exempt because I think that'd probably make this decision a lot easier. I think Adam Ernie might be a better 4th line winger in terms of the role you need him to play in that spot than Raphael Lavoie is. But do you want to run that risk of a month into the season, you're sitting there going, well, damn, Raphael Lavoie is an Arizona Coyote or a Montreal Canadian. We're sitting here with Fogle and Hyman or 2 of whatever out of the lineup. And, well, now we could really use someone with a good shot who could play 11 minutes a night for us, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Tyler Yaremchuk joins us. Jay Woodcroft says the goalie battle is still wide open. Do you believe him?
I think Jack Campbell's going to start opening night. I'm fully convinced of that right now. And my reasoning for it is, 1, he's been the better goalie through the preseason games. He's been lights out in his 2 starts. And we know Jack Campbell at times in his career, not just as an Oiler, but going back to the Leafs, the mental side of his game has struggled at times. It's a confidence issue sometimes with him. So I think it sends a really good message to Jack Campbell to say, hey, you played great in the preseason and look, you get rewarded. You get the opening night start in Vancouver. I think it's also very easy to go to Stuart Skinner and say, Jack was great in the preseason. You're our guy. You're a guy. You're going to start the home opener with the Rock and Rogers Place crowd, but we're committing to splitting up the workload this year. So in the first 2 games, you split it up. Jack Campbell gets a road start where maybe there's a little bit less pressure. You give Stuart Skinner the Saturday night home opener, and he should be more than thrilled to get that part of the workload. And I think it's a nice little hat tip to Jack Campbell to say, hey, look, if you play well, good things will happen to you.
Yeah, it's interesting because, Skinner's first game, he was fine. He only allowed 1 goal. Yeah. The Vancouver game, obviously, although 2 of those goals, even 3 of them, I don't really fault him on it. I still think Skinner got the first of the 2 preseason. If I look at the way they're going, Skinner's playing tonight. I don't think they want to go 10 days before he plays again. And so that's why I think it's going to be Campbell Friday, and then Skinner starts game 1. And I agree with you that they split. I just have it the other way. Skinner 1, Campbell game 2, which happens to be in Edmonton. And then, you know what? Because I've said all along, I don't think it's going to be a 50-32 or even a 48-34, barring injury. Injury obviously changes everything. But I think this split this year is actually going to be closer to like 43-39. And I'm not sold that there's one guy for sure that'll be the 43.
Yeah, like I would still lean Stuart Skinner just because of the sample size we got last year of him being a pretty damn good goalie throughout that stretch. But I could very easily see a world where Jack Campbell takes over the crease and plays 75% of the games for a 1-month stretch at some point next season. We saw him last year. Like in the playoffs, he looked good. I mean, it was all relief appearances. Woodcroft didn't give him a start, but remember that stretch in January? He looked really good. His last few starts of the regular season, he looked really good. Like, we know this guy is more than capable of being an above average NHL goalie. And I think last year, again, hopefully mentally he can just flush it, and the first sign of adversity doesn't absolutely sink him, because that will be the next big test, is what happens when he has a bad game. Does it snowball into 2 weeks worth of bad games? But I don't know. The preseason's kind of changed my mind and expectations a little bit on Jack Campbell and that workload.
Well, it'll be fun to watch. Ty, thanks for this. Enjoy the Jays game.
Oh, yeah, I can hear the guys in the office cheering around the TV, so I'm very excited to get back to that.
Well, Biggio got called out on strikes with runners on first and second. They had a long at bat, but eventually struck out on, I think it was the 8th pitch of the at bat. So at least the Jays had 2 hits to start the first inning, so their bats are a little bit more awake. Although I thought they actually hit the ball okay, just didn't get any bounces. So we'll see how it goes. That is Tyler. Yeah, you bet. Tyler Yaremchuk from Oilers Nation. The Oil Report brought to you by Volvo of Edmonton. When we come back, it's our guest on Who Is It Wednesday. We'll give you some of the hints again. He's a 2-time Stanley Cup winner, 7-time goal scorer, spent 13 seasons in the NHL, but has been around the NHL, involved in the NHL for decades. He scored the 5th most goals of his draft class. He signed an offer sheet that then the NHL actually rescinded because they said it wasn't legal. And he was a 3-time 30-goal scorer and 1-time 50-goal scorer. Who is it? Find out next after Connor Halley in a SportsCenter update. Brought to you by Fountain Tire. Right now, during the Road Ready sales event, you can save up to 25% off of select tires and a bonus of $50 off any service until October 21st. Book your appointment at fountaintire.com. Some restrictions apply.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Game day, the Oilers in action as the preseason rolls on. The Calgary Flames in town. This one gets going just after 7 o'clock elsewhere. Sabres in Columbus. Penguins host the Red Wings. Devils taking on the Rangers and the Kraken in Vancouver. Some news from the NHL's Board of Governors meeting. Commissioner Gary Bettman says a very preliminary estimate for cap next year is $87 to $88 million. The cap this year, 83.5. Major League Baseball playoffs. Jays and Twins scoreless heading into the second. Elsewhere, Rays trail the Rangers 7-0. That's in the bottom of the 7th. The Texas Rangers do lead that series 1-0. Later tonight, the Diamondbacks looking to wrap up their series with the Brewers at 5. Then at 6 o'clock, the Marlins looking to stay alive as they're in Philly, taking on the Phillies. The Edmonton Oil Kings road trip continuing tonight. They were victorious in Prince Albert. They'll take on Saskatoon. That one gets going at 6 o'clock. One game in the AJ Spruce Grove in Lloyd taking on the Bobcats. That one also starting at 7 from the NFL. The LA Chargers sending cornerback J.C. Jackson back to the New England Patriots, for whom he played the first 4 seasons in his career. Was part of the deal. The two teams will also exchange 6th and 7th round picks in 2025. And the Denver Broncos releasing edge rusher Randy Gregory. They gave him a 5-year, $70 million contract in March of 2022. And a handful of games in the UEFA Champions League, including Bayern Munich defeating Copenhagen 2-1, Real Madrid over Napoli 3-2, and Barcelona gets past Porto 1-0. Coming up in hour 2 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll get to another edition of Who Is It? I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
This is Sports 1440. Sting
Portions of this hour brought to you by Crystal Glass, the clear choice for all your auto, residential, and commercial glass needs. Call 310 Glass or book now at crystalglass.ca.
Sports Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
We roll through a lovely Wednesday afternoon. Of course, it is game day as the Oilers are going to take on the Calgary Flames in their second last preseason game. The top two lines will play. Nurse and Bouchard will play. Skinner's going to play. And then we don't know exactly. There's a healthy one healthy defenseman because Kulak, Ekholm aren't playing. Desharnais's healthy, but he's already played 5 games. He's not going tonight. Derek Ryan's healthy, but he's not going. Those two are out late at practice today. So there's basically 5 wingers. 4 of them are going to go between Ernie and Lavoie, Fogle, Holloway, and Janmark. One of them will get the night in the press box, the strutty, as we like to call it. And then, of course, you have Dineen and Gleason and Broberg and Ceci, Kemp, Niemelainen, and 2 of those guys are also going to be taking a seat tonight. Now, let's get to our big guest of the day, brought to you by the Spruce Grove Saints. You want to see exciting AJHL action? Hey, guess what? Our big guest used to frequent a few of those rinks when his son was playing there. So, SpruceGroveSaints.ca to get your tickets. There's another hint. So we gave all the hints, and looks like we stumped you for the first time. No one was able to get it. Here, we'll recap it again. I think our guest would have guessed it. I hope anyway. 7-time 20-goal scorer, 3-time 30-goal scorer, did score 50 goals once. He had the 5th most goals in his draft class. He's a two-time Stanley Cup winner. Was in the NHL as a player or coach for 13 seasons, but has been around the NHL for much longer in a broadcaster role. And he joins me now from Edmonton, calls it his hometown now. Craig Simpson joins us. Simmer, how you doing?
I'm good. You threw me off with the 13 years because I was thinking, okay, I only played 10. But you threw in the coaching there too.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's
good.
Well, you can't make it too easy, right? Nowadays with Google, it's hard.
Yeah, it's pretty easy, isn't it?
You got to try to think of some stuff that they can't just easily research. The other one I did have was an offer sheet that was rescinded by the National Hockey League. From the San Jose Sharks, which is, we'll get into that a little bit, but I want to go way back because you were actually, I think, the youngest player to ever play college hockey because you had skipped grade 3.
Yep.
And then you took grade 11 and 12 in 1 year. So how did you take 11 and 12? Like, did you take summer courses?
I did end up having to take one summer course. My last, to get your grade 12 diploma, you had to have 5 core classes.
Okay.
My last one that I had to take was math. So I was actually technically, kind of accepted to Michigan State, but I still hadn't finished my summer school math yet. So the pressure was on. I was really fortunate in London. I was at Oak Ridge High School and we were on a semester system. So the first half of the year was 5 courses. And then the second half was a separate 5. So okay. I made kind of the decision in about November, started thinking about where I was probably going to get drafted in the Ontario Hockey League, and it was going to be far away from London, and school was really important.
Okay.
And so we just started looking at options, and basically I went to Michigan and Michigan State. They're 3-hour drive, both of them from my home. So for my mom and dad, it was a good sense of being close. Ron Mason, I had worked with at hockey schools before. He was the head coach of Michigan State. So there was a connection there. And basically I changed 2 of my cores in the second semester to the grade 12s to get them. I took a night school class, which was only phys ed. So I was able to handle that one. Well, you're allowed 1 elective. And then I took through correspondence, a history, grade 12 history class. So it was a busy time, but honestly, it nothing like when you're motivated and excited about the opportunity. It didn't seem like a lot of extra work. It was I was playing for the London Junior B Diamonds there in the Western Junior B Hockey League, and I had played there as a 14-year-old the year before. And then as a 15-year-old, the decision kind of was I was leading the league in scoring as a 15-year-old. And so I can't really go back to the junior B if I don't go to college. So the thing that was critical was to be able to finish my schooling so I could go to university. And you know what? The rest was history. It was such a great experience.
So you mentioned education. So was that from you, or were your parents the ones who really said, hey, we love that you want to try to be an athlete, but we really got to get your education?
Well, yeah, our family, both my mom and dad were teachers. My dad's a PhD. My eldest sister was a PhD in English literature. My brother, who was a London Knight, so he was able to go to school. He was the captain of London Knight, won the CHL score. He was player of the year in 1981. The CHL still holds the London Knight scoring record.
Really?
Yeah. He was nervous when Pat Kane got within, I think, 5 points, and he was messaging me going, man, I don't know. I don't think I can hold this Kane guy off. But my mom, when Dave was playing for the Knights, would go to his classes at times and take notes because he'd be on a road trip and was going to miss. So she would go up to the university. Everybody in my family had gone to University of Western Ontario. And so for my mom, it was exciting to get back into a classroom again. And Dave was Scholastic Player of the Year in the OHL for us 3 years. And so school was just, it was not a non-option. And part of what really pushed it that year, I think it was the teams that were in the lower, that were going to draft high in the draft were Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, a long way away from my home. And it just got us thinking. And my coach at the time in the Diamonds was Randy Neal, and he was a Michigan grad. And so we just started talking college hockey, and I said, hey, if I can go now, and both teams were, both schools were willing to, look at it and see what was there. I always tell young kids, when I was going at John Dearness Public School, grade 8, I never thought what I was doing there would have any impact on my life. And here you are, I was in grade 11. So they went back to my public school and talked to principals and talked to the schools did.
Oh, wow.
To see what kind of kid is this? What kind of marks did he have back then? What kind of student was he? What kind of personality did he have? And I always said, little did I know then how important what I did then gave me the opportunity to go to Michigan State at that point.
Craig Simpson joins us today on Who Is It Wednesday. Of course, he's the lead analyst on Hockey Night in Canada, does all the games, lives in Edmonton, but did 78 games last year, and they were all on the road, not one in Edmonton. You do have one for sure this year in Edmonton. We know for sure because you have the Heritage Classic on the Sunday coming up later this month. So that's nice. But so you go to college for a few years, and now you're entering your draft year in 1985. And you were highly sought after, right? Like there was lots of conversations. You were going to go number one. Toronto had the number one pick. There was Wendell Clark and you. Now I've read online that the interview with you and the Leafs now wasn't Harold Ballard, and this because I've seen, you can't believe everything I read on Wikipedia. So was the interview with you and the Leafs that confrontational might not be the right word. So what would you describe that draft interview with the Leafs like?
Well, it's not like today's game where, the top picks go around. It's very well organized. This was just something that was starting. I only went to see 3 teams. I went to the New Jersey Devils. They were the 3rd overall pick. Went to the Leafs, which were 1st, and Pittsburgh. So only those 3. And Toronto actually was my last. Probably the most impressive was the Devils. Actually, I enjoyed the conversation. It was really two-way and respectful. Pittsburgh went fine. Eddie Johnson was their general manager. Bob Berry was the coach. Toronto's was just kind of bizarre. Jerry McNamara was the GM, and Don Maloney was the head coach. And, you and I are sitting here now, and I look you in the eyes and I talk to you and I engage with you. And the discussion was just so deadpan, and coach is looking off to here. My dad and I are sitting in there and not really having any eye contact, not having any. Yeah, it was just bizarre. Part of the approach looking at the situation was, I knew I was going to go 1, 2, or 3 in that range. I had options because, I had already had 2 years of Michigan State hockey in me. We had the best team in the country the year before. We got to the Final Four my first year. We had the best team. We only lost 6 games all year, but we lost a 2-game total goal against the Providence Friars. And then I still had the ability to go back to school. So I had that as a threat.
Okay.
And was registered to go to school. So in my mind, I was thinking I might. Who knows where I end up. But we also had looked at that time frame for Toronto. I grew up loving Daryl Sittler. I mean, I grew up in London, Ontario, had a black and white TV with the Rabbitohs, would sit late at night, watch their playoff games in the 70s and that, stay up late on Saturday night. Daryl, I wore number 27 at Michigan State. Daryl was my favorite player growing up. So in a lot of ways, why wouldn't you like to go there? But just seeing what they had done to young player after young player and had a difficult time developing guys and destroying a few younger ones. And on the flip side, the Pittsburgh Penguins just got Mario Lemieux.
Pretty good player.
I'm looking at my dad and I just talking. I go, Dad, Toronto is going to be, it's not so much that it's more pressure. It's just that's a organization that looks in chaos and had been for a while. You look at the 80s, I think they were 300 games under 500 for the 80s. Right. So, and I just used the leverage saying, we started even then talking about money and contracts and that, and Toronto was nowhere near where even Pittsburgh was going. And so there's just a lot of factors lining up. So all we said, and this is where you said it gets skewed a little bit. I didn't tell him I would never play for him or anything like that. I said, if you guys are going to draft me, I think I'll go back for my 3rd year at Michigan State. So I'm, there's a bit of a leverage point just saying if you're expecting someone to come in now, and in hindsight, Michigan State won the national championship that year. So it would have been a nice time. But I think just what skewed it so much was the idea of building with Mario. I mean, he had come off 100-point rookie year, Calder Trophy winner. And I just think if you're going to pick one team or the other, I think going with 66 was probably the right idea.
So you ended up going number 2 overall. Then you go to Pittsburgh camp that year. You make the Pittsburgh Penguins in 85, 86. And obviously they're not a great team, right? Which is that's why they had the number 2 overall pick after having the number 1 the year before with Mario Lemieux. But you come in there, teenagers in the NHL historically, Craig, it's really difficult.
Yep.
Right. We've seen great teenagers. And even now, this many years later, with all the advancements in technology and nutrition and training and everything, they're like Leon Draisaitl's a Hart Trophy winner. He couldn't play in the NHL as a teenager, right? It's hard. So how was it for you that first year, going, because you were young, right? Yeah, you'd play 2 years of college, but most guys come out of college 2 years, they're 20.
Yeah.
You're 18.
Yeah, I wasn't ready. And honestly, all those distractions, I didn't sign until September 8th, I think, right before training camp. Add to that too, my brother Dave, who was in the Islanders organization before, was he's 5 years older than me. So he's 23, 24. And they invited him to camp too. I think just to sort of appease, get the family part going. That for me was the worst thing. I look at it now, I didn't have the maturity to say, I wanted my brother to make it to the NHL. I wanted him to get an opportunity. And I spent more time, I think, at training camp worried about how my brother was doing, as opposed to me just being focused on, who am I kidding? I'm coming after Mario Lemieux at 100 points and the generational player. I'm the 2nd overall pick. And I failed. I mean, I think it was the best lesson I ever had in terms of at any point in my hockey career to that point. I've never really had a failure type year. And so, you deal with adversity, or you deal with when you're 14 playing with 20-year-olds, it was challenging there, but I didn't fail. And that whole season was a tough one. And it was probably the best thing that ever could have happened to me. And, I had good people around me, most notably my mom and my dad, but my brother as well. But instead of allowing that to destroy me, it actually motivated me more. And the next summer, I knew the work I had to put in and the things I had to do. I went back to Michigan State, worked out with Kelly Miller, who played for the Washington Capitals and Rangers there, and just said, this is on me. That year, I watched Wendell get 34 goals as a rookie coming in Toronto, and so you always are tied to that too, and say, okay, well, now is my time to learn from the mistakes I made and learn from not being prepared and ready and strong enough. As you all know, I'm not a great skater, so if I'm not in tip-top shape, my speed's not there, and I think in so many ways, instead of breaking me down, it actually motivated me more than ever.
Craig Simpson joins us. One last one before we go to break. So you mentioned you and your dad were talking in Toronto, and who was your agent at that time?
My dad actually was.
I was going to ask you, okay.
So at the time back then too, you didn't have representation if you were at college, right? You couldn't have an agent. They call them something different now, and
advisors, I think, is what they're called now.
And because I was still enrolled at Michigan State right down to September before, because I didn't sign, we were going all the way through. Dad did the negotiations, and for most of my career, he continued on.
Wow.
I got Don Meehan at the end there, but it was kind of a unique situation. And in retrospect, if I had to do it over again, probably wouldn't have it that way. Now that you know how much leverage agents get off of each GM, if I got a player here, I'll get to this guy. And but anyways, it was a good bond and something that worked relatively well.
Well, we're going to talk about your father-son relationship and more when we return. It's the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440. Craig Simpson is our guest today on Who Is It Wednesday.
It's an action-packed long weekend of Oil Kings hockey at Rogers Place, starting
This hour brought to you by EUL. From LED lighting audits and retrofits to design-built distribution systems, EUL services can give you the edge you need to impress your clients. EWEL.ca.
Sports Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
I'm a traveler of both time and space.
We continue on Wednesday afternoon on Sports 1440. It's the Jason Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Our Who Is It Wednesday guest, none other than Craig Simpson from Hockey Night in Canada. Of course, Oilers fans know him as a two-time Stanley Cup winner. And we talked about his unique journey going to college, a university when he was 16, and then getting drafted second overall in 1985 by the Penguins. Tough first year. Then the second year, you kind of figured out, you have 51 points. Then you start your third season, Craig, and you're on fire. You had 13 goals in 21 games. You have 25 points. You're like, okay, here we go. I'm playing with Mario. We're lighting it up. And then tell me, how'd you get the phone call? Had you heard the rumblings of the trade?
Well, you go back to 1987, and it's not like today where everything is instant and you have your phone out and you know what's going on around the league. But it was unique with the Oilers winning the Cup and Paul Coffey holding out of training camp. But right from day one of that training camp, speculation around the league was, well, if Paul Coffey's going to get traded somewhere, where should he go? Well, Mario Lemieux, Wayne Gretzky, you're looking for another star player that hasn't had depth, that hasn't had an offensive-minded defenseman. So although it was reading the paper every day as opposed to that, it came in slower. I literally knew Barry Fraser was almost at, I think, every exhibition game of ours in Pittsburgh. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So the radar was up. And for me, as you said, I came off 26 goals, 51 points. I'm now, a number 2 center on the team and getting an opportunity to play. I was, again, a real player now. I'm 20 years old. And going into my third camp was completely different. And I just I had the mindset of saying, okay, well, don't worry about rumors because my name would come up. Obviously, you're going to get Paul Coffey. You got to give up some assets. Yeah. And the most inspiring thing, though, for me for that entire year was watching my teammate at the Canada Cup. Like at that training camp, Mario wasn't there at camp.
Yes.
And so we got to watch every night the Canada Cup and watch Mario get to finally play with great players and watching what he and Gretz did together.
Yeah.
Obviously I didn't know Wayne in that regard. I was obviously idolized Wayne and how he played. But to me, it was just so empowering to see how great Mario was and having played now 2 years with him, getting him to finally play with players that were winners, that were champions and the best in the world. And to see what he did, it inspired me. And so he came back a completely different guy, as you can imagine. It was a breakthrough for him. And also just to realize, how great he could be in relation to the greatest and how clutch he came up at the biggest moments. So right from the start of that year, I don't know why. Pierre Kramer was a new head coach. And he played me on the wing. I literally had hardly played on the wing at all. And for a stretch, you had Charlie Simmer had got there. So you had Simmer and Simmer playing with Mario at the beginning. And as the rumor mill kept going, it motivated me even more. And I often, even as a coach, talk to the guys at trade deadline who were really struggling with rumors coming. I go, guys, the one thing you control is how you're playing. And I'm going to make it so it's almost impossible for the Penguins to trade me because I'm playing as well as I am, or make it impossible for Slats not to want to have me. And so I did. It got off to a good start. Felt like a big part of the offense. Got to play a lot more than I had even in the second year. And our last 2 games were the Western Swing. Our last 3 games as a Penguin for me. Played in Vancouver, and then we came here and played in Edmonton. And I had been playing some wing. That night, I got put back at center. And I look at it now, and I even knew it then. This is an audition night, right? Now you're 19, 20 games. That was our 20th game of the year. 20 games into the year. And Slats has got to pull the trigger on Coffey. It's not doing anybody good. And here we are in Edmonton. And I remember looking at Slots, didn't know him obviously, and like that, but going, listen, let's either get this done or leave me alone. Like I'm having the best year of my
You told
career.
him that?
No, I'm looking like, come
okay.
on, either
I see. Okay.
get off the pot or go. So I played against Mess all night. So I think, from a GM's perspective, he's going, let's test this kid. And from Slots, I have a great picture of battling off a face-off with Mark, who ironically became my center for the next 5 years. But I really used that game as just, okay, you got to show what you are. And it's that whole mindset again of either, get the deal done because you want me, or if the Penguins are saying, oh, we can't trade him, either way, it's a win-win for me. And we lost 4-1, but I scored my last goal as a Penguin against Furzy. And in typical fashion, it was a rebound goal and I got knocked into him and I ran him over and we were celebrating and he's looking up at me. And I didn't know him obviously then as much. He goes, you can get up anytime now. There you go. And then we played in Calgary. We tied that game and went all the way back to Pittsburgh. And as it always happens, in the middle of practice, I get called, you got to go up and see Eddie. And so
you knew when you were going up there, that you were traded.
Oh yeah, for sure. And literally there's how the game works. We had just flown commercial in the middle row in the smoking section, back in those days. I did. We had that at times.
Gross to think about it.
It was unbelievable. And so I went up with EJ, and I had been living with the Matthews family there. So Mario had lived there his first year, and I lived there the 2 years. And anyways, I was on a plane. I think it happened at about 10:30 in the morning. I was on a 1:55 flight. Got into here, Edmonton at about midnight. Sparky got us with the cube van and stayed at the Forum Hotel right across from Northlands. And literally it was game day the next day. You talk about changing your life.
Yeah.
It really was something that, it did change my life eventually, obviously, to come to such a great team. But no, the journey to get there was a great one. I just knew it was going to be a different year for me.
Craig Simpson joins us. So you get traded to Edmonton. You've been playing with Mario Lemieux. So, and you're a pretty good player yourself. You had 13 goals in 21 games that year and over a point a game guy. But then you walk into the dressing room of a team that has won 3 of the last 4 Stanley Cups. That's the greatest offensive player ever. One of the best leaders. It's got Anderson, it's got Curry, it's got Grant Fuhr. You're 20 years of age.
Yeah.
And I know that I've heard all the stories that Messier was this unbelievable leader, made everybody feel welcome right away. But how intimidated was a young Craig Simpson, or were you intimidated?
You know what? I was, all those thoughts that you just laid out, clearly that whole flight, I'm going, I'm finally having a breakout year. Where am I going to play on this team?
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at, you're not taking Curry or you're not taking Anderson's spot. I go, I might get stuck on the 4th line now. And so it definitely was in my head. The one thing I would say though, is walking down that hallway into the dressing room, just partly seeing the pictures on the walls and the historical, like you said, 3 of the last 4 Stanley Cup championships. And you walked in there and I was, Pittsburgh was a bad team, a poor owner. Our rink was terrible. And so nothing was organized and nothing had no culture to our whole group. And I immediately walked in and went, this is a different place. Like everything is uniform, everything's the same. You meet people and they're looking you in the eyes and welcome, good to see you. So I think it calmed me in that regard coming in. I think one of the first guys I met was Joe.
Oh,
so that was
right away. You're like, that's pretty good.
This is the best. And no, Wayne, I just remember being a little nervous. Obviously, one of the strange things I often talk about it, and I was only there for 3 years, but when you put on a different color sock, it's like, oh my gosh, like I've been doing this for 3-4 years. Imagine a guy for 10 years has been doing the same color and it's different. And that really was a jolt. But what I love about Slots and how good he was, he called me in and I could tell, would be thinking what you were just saying, where am I going to play? What am I going to do? I know a lot of guys that are having good years and go to a new team and then don't do well, or like, well, I didn't get to play enough. You hear the excuses come out. Brilliant for Slots. Just took away any excuse that I could possibly have to not produce. And he took everything out of his hands and placed it all on mine, which I just loved. He goes, Craig, welcome. He said, I brought you here to help us win a Stanley Cup again. I'm going to need you to be better than you've ever been. You're going to have to learn how to play with this caliber of players. But he said, I think you're equal to the task. And he goes, I'm going to play on the left side with Messier and Anderson. And I just sort of looked at, okay, that's good.
That's not bad. I can take that.
Like everything in my head, I'm going, where am I going to play? What am I going to do? And all of a sudden it was just like, so brilliant from a standpoint of knowing that the pressure is going to be on me, and said, it takes away, like, how am I, if I don't get off to a good start, what's my excuse? They're all gone. It's all on me. So it was a great challenge. I just loved it. And I still, my hair goes up on my arms when you think about it. And so I just went to mess, it's a morning skate. And I go, hey, how do you want me to play? And what do you want me to do? He just looks, hey, goes, hey, in our end, just take care of the boards and do your job defensively. Other than that, let's just go play. I was like, okay, I can handle that.
Yeah.
And the rest was history. Like
now, how'd you keep up to those two guys? Because you mentioned those, those two guys could fly.
It was the best thing for me again, too. And again, of understanding by your third year what it takes to be an NHL player. But I've been on a terrible team. I mean, we still drafted, I think, 5th overall the year after me, right? So
Chris Joseph,
yes. Yeah, and he got traded in the deal as well. Mm-hmm. So I often said our practices in Edmonton were more difficult for me skating wise than the games I played in Pittsburgh. Like it was that dramatic of a difference. Well, you got the best team in the league and a team that's been a bottom 5 for the last 5 years. And I think, again, it's the best thing that happened for my career because it forced me each and every day I had to work as hard as I could to keep up in practice. Forget about game. Because the great thing about our practices too was the attention to detail. Muck, Slats, Wayne always say, if you can't pass, you can't play. That was always our thing. So everything had to be on the tape. You had to do it right. You had to go over if you didn't. And that's what championship teams do. And that was just so exciting to be a part of it. But I love the mindset that Glenn, he just gave me the opportunity and took away any reason that I would have an excuse to not produce.
So do you remember your first game as an Oiler?
I do. We lost to New Jersey.
Yes.
I don't think I got anything. It was like
4 penalty minutes.
Did I?
Yeah. Real rough house.
I was trying to set the tone physically. You know what? It was all kind of a blur in that regard. Just trying to find a way to fit in. And I remember it. I don't remember much of what happened in it. I would not have got the 4 penalty minutes in my mind on that. But all I remember is being disappointed I didn't score.
Do you remember a December 2nd game that year? Because you got traded. You came in late November, right? November. So your 5th game as an Oiler, it was December 2nd.
Well, did I have the hat trick that night
in Detroit?
So I'll give you a story on that one. Because I scored on a 2-on-1 in Buffalo with Yari Curry.
Yeah.
It's like, again, you're going, it's amazing playing now with guys that you idolized. It is. And again, I'd already played, almost 200 games in the league, but I'm 20 years old and I'm still going, oh my God, Mark Messier is my centerman. And Wayne, I used to come back to the bench on a power play, and Wayne would give me like an unbelievable chance I wouldn't score. And I'd come back. I go, sorry, Wayne, I should have had that. And after a while, he goes, Simmer, forget about the sorries. Let's just go get it the next time. And I go, okay, you got to get that out of your head. Apologizing to the teacher for, for having a bad test.
Yeah.
But Slats in that morning skate, you said it was my 5th game or so, just had a little talk with me and said, how you feeling? Like, how you finding the room and how you finding the guys? And, in those morning skates before nothing's really going on, I said, actually, this has been the most exciting, time of my life. I can't believe I'm getting to play with these guys here. And he's going, okay, so I need you to be a better player. I need you to be a more consistent player. And I said, that's something that, these guys have all been able to do. So, at the rink, we're skating around and he goes, look at our lineup here. And if you just take the offensive zone and look at the crease around the net, said, if your best player is going to be the guy who is in that area, you know, Wayne is there. Wayne's by himself. Nobody else can really play that area. Not figuratively,
Yes.
but literally, I mean,
Yeah.
but figuratively. So there's the best example you have of our best player. And it goes, but then you look at like just above the crease in the slot area there and goes, look at our lineup. You know, Mark Messier is in that area every night. Glenn Anderson, Yari Curry are in that area every night. And he goes, you know what you're going to get from them. That's the beauty of being a top player in the league. He goes, so many other guys are at the top of the circles to the blue line. And sometimes guys will get into the circle or maybe into the slot, but then they're out there again.
Okay.
They can't do it on a regular basis. Those guys, I know when I put them in the lineup, I'm getting that out of those core 4 or 5 guys, right? And he goes, I'd say sometimes I've seen you in flashes where you're in there with Yari and Mark and you're playing with Glenn and that. But too often you're way out here at the blue line and you're out with the rest of the guys and you're not consistent enough. He goes, I don't need you to be Wayne Gretzky. I don't need you to try to find a way to try to get your game to his level. It's not going to happen. I don't need you to be Mark Messier. I don't need you to be Glenn Anderson. You're never going to be Yari Curry. But I need you to be the best Craig Simpson that you can be.
Yeah.
And if that means that you can spend 80 to 90% of the time in that slot area like those guys are, then we've got a chance. Then you've got a chance to be a star in this league. I go like, I've never had a coach talk to me at the NHL level. And in my first year, Bob Berry wouldn't even look at me, right? And so to me, that was the morning skate of that game.
Yeah, it was.
And then I got a hat trick that night.
And it was like he made you believe in yourself more.
But he also challenged you to say, listen, I need you. Our team needs you to be in that role. But I've talked to so many different places about this, and every organization, every team, it's important. You got to embrace having better players around you. Embrace somebody who's smarter than you. Embrace somebody who has more talent than you, and not be intimidated or jealous of it.
Yeah.
And what that did for me was going, okay, if you start trying to become Mark Messier, I don't have that ability. I don't have that skill set. Mine is different. I do things, maybe even some better than him and different things. But overall, if you're chasing that and that's where your path is leading you, you're going to fail and you're not going to be able to feel like you can be a contributor. And that to me was the most powerful message from Slats was, no. I need you. I need Craig McTavish to be the best Craig McTavish too. And like everybody fills that role and becomes the best version of themselves. And I remember that like it was yesterday because that night I was so motivated and off of that very conversation from Glenn. Glenn did a lot of that for me to sort of push me to be better each and every day and more consistent, but also give me the tools to find a way to get there.
Craig Simpson joins us on Who Is It Wednesday. I'm Jason Gregor on Sports 1440. We'll take a quick break, come back with more on the Jason Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
What you eating there?
Oh, just a Leon's $10,000 shopping spree and
By Cantor, we've continued developing tools and are excited to announce our newest design, battery-powered nut runners. 4 models from 500 to 3,000 foot-pounds with more on the way. Learn more at cantor.com.
Sports Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Back in the cold, people know, people come and go, it bores me. Same thing, seems like I'm trapped in the world with a certain face upside. Time waits on no man.
We continue on. Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440 live on Oilers Nation YouTube. Craig Simpson is our guest, of course, joined the Oilers in 1987 and went in November of 1987. That was they won their first cup. And then, of course, Gretzky gets traded that summer after you won the cup. And I'm sure it's a big shock to the whole team. It's like, oh, my goodness, just Craig, we lost Wayne Gretzky. Then you met him in the playoffs. There was also the brawl, though, Simmer,
Yes.
when you guys played the Kings that year and Messier fought McSorley and it was like 400 penalty minutes. Did that game, was that the cutting of the cord? Is it too easy to say that? Or was that kind of symbolic and okay, you know what? Hey, we're always going to be friends with Gretzky, but now he's the opposition.
That was the precursor to being able to finally beat them. I mean, losing in 89, we were up
When
3
you're
to
up 3-1.
up 3-1. I would say the cut emotionally was after that.
Okay.
In the dressing room, Gretz scored the empty netter to end it. We're all in there. And Slats, it was his last game as the head coach, right? Because he stayed on the year after trading Gretz and then passed it on to Muck. Good for him for not putting Muck in that situation there. But we lost because you didn't play Wayne like you would Mario. And I felt that myself. You're hesitant to hit him the way you would or be as aggressive just because what he meant to you. And so in the room after we lost that game 7, all Slat said was, guys, this is a good lesson for us all. He goes, you guys, I know that's your buddy out there, but few expletive words, but he goes, he just stuck it, where, and is dancing down the middle of the ice with his new teammates as he sends us away for the summer. He goes, just remember that. And remember that, he can be your friend, but he can't be on the ice. And not much else was said. We're obviously devastated.
Yeah.
Losing after a 3-1 lead. But so the next year, that one, I believe that game was in a February, March area.
Yeah.
And you're just thinking playoff time. You get to that point of the season and you're going, we might be seeing them again. And this is not going to happen again. I remember Tiki and I in a pile and Marty was down there and we're wrestling with whoever was there. All of a sudden, Marty's head just sort of popped out of the thing and Tiki's looking at me and looking at me and just starts hitting him going like that. And then everything goes and everybody's going. But it's about, less about the fight. It's about the fight of the team together. And I don't mean the physical fight necessarily, but, I think we were a different team and we had gotten over and lost. And that spring really brought us together as a group to say, maybe we do have the ability to win without him and start thinking about winning the cup as opposed to just, winning around come playoff time.
The 1990 Cup winning team without Gretzky, I think, was a huge thing for the Oilers organization, for the fans, because there's so many people oh, you know what, they're only good without Gretzky. And I'm sure as a proud athlete, there's okay, we want to show some people, right? And you were down to Winnipeg then 3-1, and you come back in that series. And Mark Lamb was good, but you led the team in scoring. You had 16 goals, 31 points that year. When you look back in your whole career, was that the best stretch of hockey you've ever played in your career?
Yeah, I think it's probably the one that I'm most proud of anyways. And ironically, it came off a terrible year for me. I had 29 goals. I think I had 180 minutes in penalties that year.
I was going to ask you, were you just
I was pissed off all the time.
Okay.
I didn't have a good year. I struggled a little bit. I know Slats was mad at me, 30 goals, 29 goals, whatever it is, but it just wasn't happening. And, sometimes you need to get that cathartic mental thought out of your mind. And down the stretch, as we were coming together as a team, you could really feel some good energy and some good vibes. So despite the frustration for me, I always looked at the end line of the regular season and go, I'm going to have my best. Like the playoffs are the great equalizer. It can ruin a great season. If you have a great regular season and you suck in the playoffs, that's all they're going to remember.
Yeah.
My mindset that year, I remember it like yesterday going, I'm going to be the best I've been because I was frustrated from the regular season. And you start that playoff with zeros across the board, and it really was special. I can't say enough about what it was like to play with Mess and Andy. You know, I've got 2 Hall of Fame guys that basically had 4 years, 2 Stanley Cups with them. And just those moments of playing at such a high level with so much energy and so much emotion. I remember saying to my dad, you know, when the clock was ticking down at the Boston Garden and we're going to win, the play was going on. And I remember probably more than anything, just hugging Mess and Andy. We're looking at each other, and you really do bring each other into the fight. And Mess was such a great leader. I know what that meant for Mark to be the captain of the Edmonton Oilers after Wayne and win the Stanley Cup. I mean, it gets chills up my spine. And I remember sitting in the dressing room with Tina Turner, Simply the Best on, and guys are dancing around and champagne's all around. And because it was my second time, it was different, you know, but I can still smell what it smelled like. I can still remember the feeling. And I took inventory. I go, I want to remember this feeling for the rest of my life.
Okay.
And, you know, so, unfortunately for me, my career didn't go as long because of my back, but I remember those moments and just say that looking around at your teammates who worked so hard, the big moments. Think of Mess in Game 4 in Chicago, the conference final. Think of Peter Klima passed away, but think of Peter's goal in triple overtime of Game 1. Think of all the big saves by Billy, all the block shots in the battles won. You know, those are the moments that just identify what you wanted to do in your life as a hockey player. And I honestly, I remember saying to my dad, I was almost like feeling afterwards a little depressed. You know, we won the Stanley Cup, but like you said, we won it in Game 5. I would have liked a couple more games. Because I honestly said to my dad, I go, I can't believe we won the cup, but I'm kind of sad. I'm down because you never know if you're going to get to that level again. You said Mark Lamb. Mark Lamb played such an integral role in what his role was in that playoff. And you go, you know, there's a moment for Mark. You go, you'll never maybe get to that moment again. No. And so I do think that's what's so special, and that's what's great to be around it now. I've done the last 16 Stanley Cups, and to see the energy on the guys and the celebrations afterwards is just brings up so many of those kind of memories.
Craig Simpson with us. And before we let go, I do want to ask you about that. You know, as a broadcaster, you become, very popular, very good analyst. How'd you learn to be better as an analyst?
I just think you always, I've always said, I think this is year 2020 for me, 21 years I've been doing this. I left to go. I coached for a bit. My first year, my back was so bad, I couldn't do anything. I needed to just heal a little bit. I always say, if you can get 20 years and people don't absolutely hate you, you're doing okay. Cause it's a role that everybody's going to hate you. Honestly, it's just part of the business. You can never do it right. But it's a privilege to be up there. I love the playoffs as much as it's a grind for the players, a game every second day, and all the energy from a broadcaster with so much on the line. It's the most incredible thing to go through it and to see it and to be a part of it. So I just think you got to think of, well, not what happened or like, how did it happen, but why did that happen? Or why? There's always a mistake that creates an opportunity. There's always, a great play that will, on the flip side, maybe embarrass somebody. It's not to embarrass somebody, but it's to just tell the story of the player and the game and what they're doing and how they're doing it out there.
I'd be curious to know, how do you have the skill that when you're calling a Toronto and Montreal game, that you can hate both teams evenly? Because I always howl at the interactions from fans. You'll be calling a Montreal-Toronto game and say, "You're such a homer, you hate the Habs." And then you're such a homer, you hate the Leafs. It's like, to me, I'm like, hey, No, it's very different. Ron Durden told me once in sports, if everybody likes your show, you don't have a good show.
Exactly.
So obviously, but it's hilarious where the same game and you can have people accusing you of being a homer of both teams.
It happens every night. And it happens more when it's a Canadian against Canadian team.
Yeah.
And, I get somebody doing the Oilers against Colorado and they lose a game and it's, you hate the Oilers so much. I thought you were once an Oiler, always. I go, I didn't lose the game. You're talking often. You get that both sides of it. And if your team maybe lost 4-0, there's a reason why you're probably not on the positive side of it. But that, honestly, you can't read what is said about you because it can affect you mentally. And I think you got to just go call the game, do it as impartially as you can. And when you're on a regional one, that's the thing about a regional one, you can be more one-sided. But the national games, that's what I like about it is, hey, every game you got to find out a little bit about both sides and see what's going to be the story of the night.
And lastly, the travel. You're a national broadcaster. We said last year you did 78 games. Your home is Edmonton. You did no games in Edmonton.
Zero.
So basically, you did 78 road games.
Yeah.
How's the drain physically and mentally?
It is
because you're flying commercial.
No, I'm not with the teams exactly. I mean, it's great for the teams that they are able to separate themselves from all the craziness of travel. We had 2 games last year that we didn't make it to the cities, so we had to do it from the Rogers Center in baseball. We were in the baseball broadcast.
Last year.
Yeah, last year. We missed right after Christmas. Flights got canceled. We didn't get to St. Louis, so we had to do the St. Louis game, and we couldn't get to Phoenix because of all the flight cancellations there. So that's just how you roll with it. And I think, you need, like in anything, you need good teammates. Like I had the best partner in Jim Houston and I we would walk around the city and somehow end up at the same place. And we basically ordered the same thing. Like we had a great connection that way, and getting to know Chris Cuthbert in the last 2 years has been wonderful. You got a great teammate, got a great crew, and that's what gets you through it. You support each other through the difficult travel times.
How much hair product do you use?
How do you measure it? I don't know.
Yeah, well,
a little goo here and there,
little there, yeah.
And then probably a little more spray than I need to. But
yeah, well, hey, it's always looking good though. It doesn't move very much.
It doesn't move much.
It's pretty solid. Well, Simmer, it's really great to have you on, man. I really appreciate that. It was great hearing a little bit more of the behind the scenes stuff. The text lines, people have been loving the insight, and look forward to the season. Give me your thoughts on the Oilers quickly.
I think this is kind of a pivotal year. I know you can say that different times, but when you look at players who have, been in that 7-8 year of their career, they're in the prime of their career, and your top guys are such dominant players. And I just think sometimes that extra will can be the difference maker. I think they all realize, especially after last year not going as far as they felt they could, that you don't get too many chances. And so I think, as crazy as it is to say, to expect something better than you've seen out of the top guys because they've been so dynamite, I think they do have a better group around them. And I think the challenge this year is, like Glenn Sather was saying, how many guys can you draw into the fight? How many guys can you bring to a level? Teams that win the Stanley Cup typically have, at all levels, whether it's defense, third pairing, whether it's fourth line, third, breakthrough performances.
Yeah.
And your top guys often are the ones. It was for me, Mark Messier and Wayne Gretzky, their example and what they did every day brought me to a level that I maybe didn't even think I could get to. That's what you have to have. And I look at what Connor's mindset is, telling the guys, we got to be here, we got to be ready, we got to be prepared. We can't let another opportunity slip away. And I think if you can find a couple more pieces that have the personalities that say, I want to be a part of that, I want to be in the fight, I got your back, and I'm going to play at a level that I've never played at, that typically is where you find the success to get there.
Well, it'll be fun to watch because, yes, after many years of sucking, the Edmonton Oilers are a legit Stanley Cup contender, and should be a fun ride, and you'll be along for it, and we'll see you in town at least for one game on the 29th of
Heritage
October.
Classic. Yeah, I can't wait to get back at that again.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Craig.
Thanks.
That is Craig Simpson, of course, from Hockey Night in Canada. Let's get to Connor Halley and a Sports Center update brought to you by BIE Engineering, specialized in all your residential, commercial, and industrial structural engineering needs.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
game day. The Oilers in action tonight, hosting the Calgary Flames as the preseason rolls on. Puck drop in that one set for 7 o'clock. Elsewhere, Kraken taking on the Canucks. Devils host the Rangers. Penguins welcome the Red Wings to town, and the Sabres will take on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Major League Baseball, Jays in action. Top of the 5th, down 1-0 in the series. Also down 2-0 in this game. Jose Barrios pulled with a stat line of 3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 5 strikeouts, and 1 earned run. Elsewhere, Brewers will take on the Diamondbacks at 5, and at 6, the Phillies. They will take on the Miami Marlins. Earlier today, the Rangers advancing on after they defeat the Rays 7-1. They win that series 2-0. The Oil Kings continue their road trip tonight on Saskatoon, taking on the Blaze. That gets going just after 6. And the AJ just 1 game. Spruce Grove in Lloyd taking on the Bobcats. That'll start at 7. From the NFL, the Los Angeles Chargers sending cornerback J.C. Jackson back to the New England Patriots. Look at the Patriots for the first 4 years of his career. As part of the deal, the two teams will exchange 6th and 7th round picks in 2025. The Denver Broncos releasing edge rusher Randy Gregory. Gregory and his representatives had asked for his release earlier this week. Signed a 5-year, $70 million contract back in 2022, and a handful of games in the UEFA Champions League today, including Bayern Munich defeating Copenhagen 2-1, Real Madrid over Napoli 3-2, and Barcelona blanks Porto 1-0. Coming up in hour 3 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll ask 5 questions and be joined by Elks assistant GM G. Simon. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Leading Edge Physio. Roads can be dangerous. Accidents happen. If you are injured, Leading Edge experts work with, and more importantly, for you. You don't have to go where your insurer tells you to go. 6 locations in the Edmonton region. LeadingEdgePhysio.com.
Sports Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
A place to stay. Get your booty on the floor tonight. Make my day. Make my day. Make my day. Make my day. Make my day.
Welcome back. Wednesday afternoon. The Jason Gregor Show. Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, where, oh my goodness, you can have all sorts of fun. PlayAlberta.ca. They have the boost bets if you want to try those. You can do parlay. Maybe want to do some prop bets. They have it all. Stay within your limits. Use your game sense. Go to gamesense.ab.ca. And oh my goodness, Vladdy Guerrero just got picked off at second base. Head runners second and third. 2 outs. Vladdy gets picked off at second. And the rally, well, it's not really a rally, I guess. It's over. Yikes. Yikes. Text line, 833-401-1440. We got lots of text line in. Greg's, I have to say, every Wednesday now, I look forward to seeing who your guest is. I love the long-form interviews, really insightful behind-the-scenes stuff. Thanks very much. That one comes from Doug. Doug Simmer seems like a genius, man. Skipping grade 3, done high school at 16, goes to college, gets his dad as his agent. Awesome stuff that I never knew before. Love this segment. That one comes in from Pete. Well, Pete, we appreciate it. You know what? Who Is It Wednesdays? Lots of fun. Different guests all the time. We've had curlers. We've had football. We've had hockey. We're going to have lots of other ones. And I think everybody's got a unique story for different times. And, you know, obviously Simpson had some great behind the scenes conversations, really understand about this, you know, how Glenn Sather was able to motivate players. He, you know, that's one of his calling cards. This is what made him so good at how he would challenge you and motivate you at the same time. And I thought Craig did a wonderful job of explaining kind of how that goes. So we will get to, let's go right now. Let's go around the NHL, brought to you by McDonald's, where you stop in at Mickey D's right now, because guess what? It's back. Monopoly. Your chance to win all sorts of wonderful prizes. You know the game. Peel the sticker. Could be an instant winner. Get them all. Play it right now at McDonald's. And Connor McDavid. Of course, he will play tonight. It is his third preseason game. He has a goal in each of his first 2. I said it the other day. I strongly believe Connor McDavid is going to become only the 9th player in NHL history to have consecutive 60-goal seasons. It hasn't happened in 30 years. The last guy to do it, the Russian Rocket, Pavel Bure, in 93-94, went back-to-back 60s. Gretzky has the most 4 years in a row with 60. Bossy had 3. Phil Esposito actually has done it twice. It's 71, 72, and then 74 and 75. Brett Hall had 3 in a row from 90 to 92. Then guys like Yari Curry, Steve Yzerman, Pavel Bure, Phil Esposito were able to do it in consecutive seasons. Merrill Lemieux, also in 88, 89. And Connor McDavid, I think, has an excellent chance. You saw that goal he scored in Seattle. Like, just look at the placement. It's almost impossible for a goalie to stop because they're all butterfly goalies now. They go down like that. And as they're going down, you shoot it hard enough, quick enough, can't stop it. Well, McDavid touched on a lot of things. I really want you to focus in on his last answer. It is hilarious. And anybody out there who plays games with their friends can relate to this. I don't care what game you're playing. You guys are playing, you know what, fantasy football with your friends. Or maybe you have a little tournament that involves some sort of athleticism. You're playing golf, right? You're playing head-to-head or playing best ball with buddies, whatever it is. When you play against your friends, it's amazing how competitive people get. Now you throw in an entire team of NHL players in an athletic endeavor that's not hockey, So they're playing against each other. I just want you to listen to McDavid's answer. It was so funny, and I'll tell you why. But first, here's McDavid just talking about kind of how he feels that the team's doing so far in preseason when it comes to understanding the system and everything else.
I think we're in a good spot. We've handled everything that's kind of been thrown our way here at camp, and I feel like we've, our game's starting to see things that we want to see out of our game. And like I said, we were in a good spot. Good chance these last two to put it over the top.
Is it more about the process and understanding the system than necessarily the results at this point?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you want to see the system being played. You want to see guys dialing into the details. I think the little parts of the game that summer habits can affect. Stopping on pucks and being in battles and being in shot lanes and stuff like that. All the things that it takes to be successful over the course of an 82-game season.
You focused on a good start this year. Jay's talked about it. You've talked about it. I'm just wanting to come out strong. Is any of that tied to what goes on here in preseason? Like, if you look back to years where maybe you didn't get off to the best start, did you tie it back to preseason? Like, is that?
I think it does, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's wins and losses in the preseason. I think it's more what kind of Jason was talking about, and that's how the game looks, from a system standpoint, and guys being dialed into the details, like I said, that it takes to win. And I think we've seen that over the course of our exhibition season, and we'll continue to look for that in the last two here.
The predictions are all starting to come out. Start of the season, all us experts make predictions who's going to win. A lot of people are going to pick the Edmonton Oilers to be in or win the Stanley Cup. As the captain of this ship, is it your job to keep everyone in the moment here? Is it your job to slow this train down a little bit?
I've said it, all throughout camp, it's a long, long ways away, even being in a playoff series. So there are so many things that have to happen. No season looks the same. No team is the same from year to year. We got to continue to build our identity as a group and our game as a whole. And that's our focus. That's it. That's not for us to decide what you experts, as you said, like to pick.
Connor, as the captain of the team, it's the final few days, and there's 3 or 4 guys. There's going to be some tough cuts here. How do you approach that? Because with injuries and stuff, the likelihood those guys will be back at some point. So how do you, do you have individual conversations with those guys just to ensure that they're in the right mental frame of mind in case they're not here come next week?
Yeah, you reach out to a guy. With that being said, I think we have a tight group from, even our American League team. I thought it was great that, those guys were here kind of all through September. And because they're going to be with us throughout the course of the season, as you alluded to, with injuries and whatnot. And I keep saying it takes everybody, and it takes a whole organization. That includes those guys that might, not be on the opening day roster here. That doesn't mean you didn't make the team or anything like that. I mean, there's so many things like salary cap and all that stuff that goes on that can get in the way of making the team or not. That being said, I'm sure we'll see them throughout the course of the year, and they're going to be big. It takes, like I said, it takes everybody.
Who was your partner, and how were you at pickleball? How far did you go?
My partner was Brad Malone, and we went all the way to the final. We lost to the Young Bucks. Well, it was a little bit. The side was stacked. We were in a tough division, a tough conference, and we grinded our way out and beat all the top guys: Boosh, Brownie, Leon. We beat all of them, and lost to a hot young team. They were good.
It sounds like you don't want to say their names.
You guys know it was Holloway and Broby. They were good.
Were you tired? Is that what you're saying? You were tired at the end?
I'm not going to say that, but maybe some loss of concentration happened. But
so I did a little bit of digging afterwards, and here's what I've uncovered about the pickleball. So Evan Bouchard, by many, is considered to be the best pickleballer on the team. He plays it quite often and supposedly quite good at it. And he was on a team with Warren Fogle, and many had them picked to win. Well, they lost to McDavid and Malone in the semifinal. And when I talked to Fogel about it, he was just like, well, yeah, our side was, way deeper. But I'm like, well, yeah, but if you guys are the favorites, would it matter which side you're on? But then I realized here where I think it's a little salty is that Dylan Holloway is just learning to play, and Philip Broberg had never played before. And so the two young bucks, maybe lacking in experience of pickleball, found a way, regardless of who they had to beat, because they still had to beat McDavid in the final, which they did. So I think and it's funny because obviously it's, they're laughing about it, but at the same time, I think there's a little bit of the pride took a beating by some of the veterans and maybe more higher ranked pickleballers, because the two young bucks, Holloway and Broberg, were the winners. So I will have to talk to Holloway about this now. But it was funny because everybody who was on the bracket side of McDavid, oh yeah, our side was way harder. Because think about it when you play with your buddies. Oh, yeah, geez. I lost in poke. Oh, you know what? I got River. The guy had a flush, and I was going with a full house, and he lucked out. He never should have stayed in. It's awesome. That type of chirping amongst buddies, it never ends. It's, I think, half the time why I enjoy doing it as a group. Right? It makes it way more fun. Way more fun. So. Oh, man. People are fired up about the Blue Jays. Hey, guys, send Bichette and Jr. to the Arizona Fall League or the Florida Instruction League so they'll be able to learn how to run bases. Yours sincerely, Ricky Henderson and Lou Brock. Yeah, Vlad, which is worse, Bichette or Guerrero? Cons? Bichette yesterday or Guerrero today? I would say I think Guerrero. I don't see how you get picked off there.
I mean, Bo, dumb, but game one, trying to make a play, you're already down. Vladdy is just laziness. It's not paying attention, not knowing the situation. You got a runner in front of you. You're on second. Like, why do you need to lead off so much? It's just, come on.
Yeah.
Extremely frustrating, but that's kind of on par for the Jays in the playoffs since like 2016.
Oh, man.
Just what they do.
People are fired up about you know what's interesting? If you look at Toronto, you look at their playoff loss last year, right? It was like the worst big lead they gave up in playoff history, I think. I got to double check that. I'm pretty sure. Same group, you come back, and now they're only down 2 runs today. It's they're going into the top of the 6th, right? So there's still lots of time left. But man, you lose like that again, I think there will be some people saying, "Hey, we need a little bit more of a focus here." For sure. So we'll find out, but it has not been great so far for the Toronto Blue Jays. We will hear from Warren Foegele a little bit later on. Warren Foegele hasn't been able to play with what many expect to be his center iceman, but good news on the injury front. Ryan McLeod was on the ice today, skating with the entire group, which at least leaves the door open that he could play Friday in the final preseason game. Matthias Ekholm didn't skate today. Would one practice be enough? I guess there's a chance, but something tells me I think it's less likely he could play. But you could see McLeod in on Friday. Quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little green and gold. The Elks. Now, their season, as far as playoffs go, isn't happening, but they still have lots and lots to play for. We'll touch on that. More on the Oilers as they get set to take on the Calgary Flames / Wranglers tonight. Probably more of a Wrangler lineup than a Flames lineup. That and more. The Jason Gregor Show, where you can always get involved. You can text us in our Jiffy Lube inbox, 833-401-1440.
Christensen Communities, the name in active adult living. Enjoy retirement living without compromise. At Christensen, we understand that each lifestyle is unique. We are committed to providing choice through optional dining, personal services,
Kick off your week with unbeatable savings. Enjoy half-price golf from Monday to Thursday. Elevate your game without emptying your wallet. Book your tee time today. CattailCrossing.ca.
The hip, hop, you don't stop. Rock it out, baby, rubber to the boogity bang bang, the boogie to the boogity beat. Now what you
Portions of this hour brought to you by On the Rocks. Something going on every day at OTR. On Monday, you got Bingo Tunes, Taco Tuesday. Tonight, karaoke, Salsa Night Thursday. Live music every weekend on the OTR stage with DJ Kenny K. On the Rocks, Jasper Ave, and 118th.
Sports Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
You've heard my voice, but I brought two friends along. And next on the mic is my man Hank. Come on, Hank, sing that song. Check it out. When I'm imp, the ladies pimp, the women fight for my delight. But I'm the grand master with the 3 MCs that shop the house.
428. Welcome back to the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440 live on Oilers Nation YouTube. And people who are fired up, man. Hey, it's playoffs. You get emotionally invested. You're up, you're down, you're yelling. The Jays, every inning, they get guys on base. And so far, I can't cash any in. And once again, runners on first and second, no out. Twins making a pitching change. Can the Jays cash a run? Do they ever sacrifice, ever? I don't know. It doesn't seem to be in their repertoire very much.
They did throw down a bunt with runners on first and second and 1 out.
Did it work?
Yeah,
but
it gave them 2 outs, so the pop fly was gone and sacrifice,
Yeah, okay. With 1 out,
it wasn't great.
No, but okay, so at least they did it. Obviously, I was talking to Simmer when that happened. Do you want to go to the Oilers game? We got a pair of seats to go see the Oilers and the Flames tonight. It's very simple. Text in your email address and the word Simpson. Very simple. Simpson and your email address with your name. And we will pick a random winner the next break. So you have lots of time. Don't worry. And then somebody's going to go tonight. McDavid, Draisaitl, Kane, Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, Nurse, Bouchard, Brown, Skinner. They're all in. And quite a few other veterans will be dressed as well. Now, we are going to talk a little football. Always good. It's never a bad time. Love this time of year, man. There's so much going on in the sporting world to talk a little bit of football as we get to the Elks Report, brought to you by Action Electrical, family-run business, over 50 years of experience. And they can help you right now with all the grants that are available. If you're looking to go solar on your house or your residence, tons of grants available and lots of interest-free loans from the federal government. If you're looking to go solar, learn more at actionelectrical.net. As the assistant general manager for the Edmonton Elks, G. Roy Simon joins us once again. And G. Roy, final month of the season for your team. And I know mathematically you got to win out and then Saskatchewan has to lose out and you could still make it. But obviously you kind of have a little bit of the eye on next season as well. And often you'll bring in guys, but your team's pretty young, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Is there a need to bring in guys and get them reps, or do you more so just want to get the guys you have more reps?
Yeah, our key right now is to, we're not really looking to next year. We're getting as many reps as possible for the guys that we have on the roster. We feel we are a young group and they need every rep that they can get. They need to see every look that they can, because, we feel like if we can get in, we feel confident that if we get in the playoffs, we can do some damage. But it's just a matter of trying to win this next game, and that happens to be Toronto.
What has been the biggest difference from your vantage point in the last 6 games compared to the first 9?
Well, the change in offensive coordinator was something that was really big for us. Jarius Jackson came in with a different mentality and different idea on how he wanted to run things. I think that was our biggest key in turning this thing around. Obviously Trey Ford has played a big part of that. With the combination of Trey, the way the ability to throw the ball and then to get out of trouble and run around and make plays has been really key for us. And I think, just getting guys involved, handing the ball off at times when we wouldn't normally do it in the past. So giving Kevin Brown chances has been a key factor. And then guys get healthy as well. Eugene Lewis coming back off an injury. His first few games back, he wasn't all the way 100%, but now you can see how great of a player he is. With the acrobatic catches and going up over people, making plays. So, it's been a great last few weeks, but we feel we got a lot of work to do, and we're continuing to work towards that.
So, G-Roy, when you look at your team as the assistant GM and you go, okay, you know what areas we want? You've got a young quarterback you quite like. Your running back position, I think, is pretty solid. You're always looking to build every area, but I want to focus on your offensive line. And, as good as Kevin Brown has been, like when guys are rushing for almost 200 yards a game over a 3-week stretch, man, the O-line's doing their job, no question. Is it the threat that Trey Ford's brought, or what's changed? Because, Kevin Brown was there for the first 9 games and you guys couldn't run the ball. And then suddenly you can run the ball almost at will.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's when we don't have success early, you got to stick with it. And that's the key with any great offense. You got to stick with running it, even though you don't have success early. And I think, at times we got away from that, early in the season. We just, got a little pass happy and tried to put it on the quarterback. But, in the end, we have, when we built this team, we built it from the offensive line back. And, those guys are big, they're strong, they're physical. They're all, other than Mark Horty, they're all 6'4" plus, 320 pounds plus. So we knew that if we had the opportunity, you keep pounding the ball. By the fourth quarter, teams are, and those offensive linemen leaning on defensive players. There's at times there's a 40, 50 pound difference. And if you do that for 4 quarters, by the end of the game, they're going to wear it down. So that was the vision when we put this team together, is build from the offensive line back, and then give them an opportunity to not pass block all the time. We want them being aggressive, moving forward, and moving guys.
G-Roy Simon joins us, assistant general manager for the Edmonton Elks. I know you're an offensive guy. Obviously, you love the offense, but I think you as a receiver probably know what makes a good DB. And your secondary was very young, G-Roy, and I don't care what league you play in. When there's youth, eventually at times there's going to be some errors, but really kind of seeing the growth almost collectively as a secondary. And I know that one year to the next, there's no guarantee it carries over, but what gives you confidence that your secondary guys will be able to build off of this and come in next season and be better?
Well, they're all babies. Other than Luchez Purifoy and Ed Gainey, they're babies back there. Those guys have really no experience at all. They're fresh out of college or fresh to the CFL. So the thing that gives us confidence is those guys are big, they're fast, and they're physical. Now, early in the year, just like everybody else, they had to learn and they had to grow up, and it took reps to do that. There's going to be some growing pains with it. There's going to be some missed coverages, but now you can start to see that these guys can really play football. They're really getting an understanding of the defense and the scheme, and not only physically gifted, they're starting to understand the game, and which makes them really dangerous, because then they can just go out and play football. There is no thinking. They can go out and react. So with the more experience these guys get, is the more they're going to become better and better players if we can keep them healthy and in our league. Because the problem is, when you got big physical guys like that, other leagues want to come and try to steal them. So we just got to keep these guys healthy and keep them all together.
When you look at Toronto and Winnipeg, and you were parts of teams, G-Roy, winning cultures seem to win lots, and losing cultures seem to continually lose. And how do you change that? How do you get from being a losing one to a winning one?
Well, in anything that I do, I consider myself a winner. And, you don't just win, by snapping your fingers. There's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of learning that goes into it. You got to learn how to not only learn how to play the game, but you got to know how to play winning football. And that's what we're getting right now. You're starting to see that these guys are really understanding, one, how to be professionals, two, how to come and prepare for games, but three, now we're starting to learn how to win games. And, over the last 6 weeks, obviously it wasn't perfect, but, you can see the growth week by week in our guys and see that they're really starting to, they're starting to grow and they're starting to get confidence and they're really starting to understand not only how to start the games, but finish the games and play winning football.
So, G-Roy, when you look down the stretch here for your team, and obviously your focus is to win all the games out, but how do you balance kind of looking at this year and then looking ahead to next season? Because part of an evaluator and scouting job is that. So how do you balance that? What's kind of the approach for you? And I guess when you mix in even, looking at the youth sports and different things like that, as far as what's happening at the football level there for the upcoming draft.
Yeah, you always, in my position, you always have to be evaluating not only for now, but for future. And, you have an eye on what's happening right now, what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen next week, and what's going to happen next year. So right now we have the team that we have, and we're pretty happy with where we are, and we know that we can build with this group. Obviously, there's going to be changes. There's turnover every year in football. So the CFL draft is something that's really big for us, and we have an idea what we're going to do in the draft, but as we dig deeper in the off season, we'll be very defined on what and who we want coming out of the draft. And then we also have a thing called a hot list where it's a few guys at every position that if a guy goes down, we can get on the phone and call a guy and have him in town within 24 hours. Then you have your big board where you have your top 10, top 20 at every position that guys that maybe have been in the NFL this year or last have been waiting for an opportunity, but you stay in touch with them, you stay in touch with their agents and say. And you just give them a blueprint on what you want to do, whether it's you want to bring them up in a month, whether you want to bring them up, sign them in the off season, or they want to come to a workout and see how they do there. So you always have to have a plan of action as far as what you're gonna do now and in the future.
G-Roy, as always, great to have you on. Best of luck in the final few games. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
That is G-Roy Simon, of course, assistant GM of the Edmonton Elks. And you know what? They've been playing a lot better. Young team. Now, we talked about this. I do think it is totally fair to question why it took so long to change the offensive coordinator. Because this is not a surprise. I said it last year. He's not the answer to your problems. They finally figured it out. Jarius Jackson, a much better play caller. It's not even close. Right? Trey Ford is more dynamic, no question. And he's young. He's only going to get better. But you just look at how much better their offense is. Imagine had they started the season with Jarius Jackson. Could they won one or two more games? They'd be right in it. They'd be right in it. And getting playoff experience for your young group, even if you lose, is a big advantage. And so, to me, Chris Jones' stubbornness to not make the change after 5 years, because trust me, it's the same OC in Saskatchewan. This is not new. And it cost him the year. You can't discount that. It cost him the season by not making that change way earlier and not making it in the offseason. That's just a fact. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you, live in the E-Well studio, your local electrical distributor. You need anything electrical? Guess what? The only place to go, EWEL.ca. We'll come back with 5 questions. We got Speck and more on the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
With your favorite bands on the OTR stage and DJ Kenny K.
For everything that's going on at On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
At On the Rocks, EDM.
Eat well, party hard.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till 2 a.m.
Corporate Business Solutions will keep your multifunction office equipment happy. But don't take our word for it. Toner cartridges from far and wide have been raving.
Well, I like it when they give me a shake, shake, shake.
500 out of every 500 sheets of paper say they love their experience in a new Konica Minolta office solution.
Get tickled as I flow through the machine.
With regular preventative maintenance, Corporate Business Solutions will keep your office equipment up and running by fixing your device before it breaks down. Call 780-490-5600 or visit cbsca.com.
A solid financial plan is made up of more than just investments. Investments are an important part, but you need a more comprehensive approach. Andy Akel at Weird Pearson Akel & Associates Private Wealth Management understands that. He can help build a plan that includes retirement, estate planning, personal insurance, tax strategies, and yes, investments. Talk to him today and see the difference a real financial plan makes. Weird Pearson Akel & Associates. Call 780-988-4119 or visit weirdadvisoryteam.com.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is sounding the call. Don't struggle through winter with a furnace you can't trust. For maintenance before winter strikes, call Legacy. Call Legacy. For furnace tune-ups and repairs to give peace of mind. Call Legacy. Call Legacy. Or to scrap your old furnace for a brand new high-efficiency one. Call Legacy. Call Legacy. And with no payments, no interest for 1 year on your new furnace, it's gotta be Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Storm chasing sounds exciting. Most days, though, it's a lot of standing in the rain. But you know what's exciting and dry? PlayAlberta.ca. With hundreds of new live tables, online casino games, and instants.
PlayAlberta.ca. Go all in on excitement. Sign up today with promo code Casino50 and get a $50 welcome bonus. Remember, if you gamble, use your game sense.
Excavators, loaders, lifts, compaction equipment, and more. Find the XCMG construction equipment you need. Available for rental or sale at Japa Machinery Group. Japa, helping build Alberta from the ground up for 50 years. Visit japamachinery.com.
Action Electrical is expanding throughout Alberta. With the recent acquisition of Big Hill Electrical Services in Cochrane, Action Electrical is the most diversified electrical contractor in Alberta. What does this mean for Action Electrical and Big Hill Electrical Services? It means that they are able to support their clientele all over Alberta with the same high level of professionalism and integrity. From conception to completion and beyond, throughout Alberta, contact
the professionals
at actionelectrical.net today. That's actionelectrical.net.
Hi, Larry Ricci from Vision RV. If you're heading south this winter, remember, we offer acres of inventory, new and pre-owned, with some great deals to help you start your journey. Maybe it's your first RV. You've come to the right place, or maybe you're upgrading. We'll give you top dollar for your trade towards that beautiful new travel trailer, fifth wheel, motorhome, park model, or truck camper. The first choice for Alberta's snowbirds is Vision RV. See what we can do for you. Just south of the Yellowhead on Highway 60.
There's nothing like having a little skin in the game to make things interesting. But when a little skin becomes more than you can afford to lose, it's time to take a break from sports betting. Set a budget and stick to it. If you gamble, use your game sense.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Papa John's. Try their new butter chicken pizza made with velvety, tangy, sweet sauce topped with juicy grilled chicken, green peppers, and onions. Large butter chicken pizza for $19.99 for a limited time at papajohns.ca.
Sports Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Crazy, but that's how it goes. Millions of people living this world. Maybe it's not too late.
Rolling through a busy Wednesday. The con man, I think he might have picked a win or not. We got one pair. We might have two, but we got one for sure. Pair of seats for tonight's Oilers Flames game. Maybe you just want to go enjoy a little preseason action. It's not on TV. You can watch it on Oilers Plus. Again, Stuart Skinner will start in goal. McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, Kane, Hyman, Brown, they're all in. Nurse and Bouchard are in. The bottom six, Malone and Pedersen are likely your third and fourth line centers because Derek Ryan's not playing. Ryan McLeod did skate today, but doesn't look. We don't think he's going to play tonight. So those are the only other two centers left. And then that means 4 of the 5 wingers: Ernie, Janmark, Lavoie, Holloway, and Fogle. 4 of those 5 are going to play. So pretty hefty NHL roster. On the back end, you might see some guys like Kemp and Gleason, Dineen, maybe get in one final game before they go. Desharnais won't play tonight. He's already played 5 games and was out late, so he won't play. Cody Ceci hasn't played a game at home, so maybe he goes tonight or they just wait till Friday. Kulak and Ekholm aren't going to go tonight either, in case you were wondering. Calgary, they are bringing very few of their top 6 forwards, some young bottom 6 guys, so a very young / Wranglers-like roster for Calgary. Dan Vladar is likely going to get tested tonight, I would think. Let's get to 5 questions brought to you by The Brick. Looking to revamp your living space for the holidays? Well, Brick's Buy More, Save More, Give More event. You can get up to 30% off select sofas, sectionals, or recliners, and a portion of the proceeds will be donated to the Children's Miracle Network. It's from The Brick and thebrick.com.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
All right, Gregor, question number 1 today. Who do you think gets more starts between the pipes, Skinner or Campbell?
Oh, man. It's a really good question. Oh, I think, honestly, if both are healthy, I've said all along, I don't think the split's going to be as, like last year was 48-34. I think it'll be closer than that. I will go Skinner 42-40. I think it's going to be pretty close.
I hope that's the case. I kind of have a feeling that we're going to get a bounce back season from Campbell. So I'm going to say Campbell, but similar to you, very, very close when it comes down to it, and give Campbell the edge on this one. Okay, question number 2. As the Oilers preseason's gone on, I've been kind of scouring Twitter as I do, looking at the other fan bases and what they think. And there's a few people that look at the Oilers dirty, and some say the dirtiest team in the league. Would you say that the Oilers have any dirty tendencies in their game?
Well, yeah. I think Evander Kane can play on the edge. Darnell Nurse can at times. Desharnais not afraid to chop guys, but, Draisaitl every now and then. Well, the grumpy German shows up, but by today's standards, sure. Honestly, if Oilers fans read that, they should take that as a compliment. That means your team's not soft, because for years the Oilers were soft.
Yeah, and I would agree. Play on the edge, go cross it every once in a while. Be that team if you have to. Make it tough. Make it, when teams see you on the schedule, like, okay, we're going to have a tough one. We might get hacked a little bit. I'm okay with it if I'm the Oilers. Question number 3. As we roll on, we'll talk a little bit about the Jays. Looks like they just ended their... Okay, heading in the middle, the bottom of the 7th here. So let's say they lose this game. Does a management change need to happen?
Was the manager making egregious base running errors? Was the manager unable to bring guys in constantly with runners in scoring position? It's always easy to blame the manager. Was every decision he made perfect? Of course not. But when I look at the majority of the decisions, the Jays are hitting the ball. They get down. So Chapman, if he's 3 inches fair, that's a tie game. So I saw it in game 1. Like, Chapman hit the ball farther. He just hit it to straightaway center field. It's not a home run, where Lewis is a home run. So I don't know. I'm not saying John Schneider. If you want to fire the manager, sure. But is that going to change the Jays' inability in the postseason to get clutch hits? He's not swinging the bat. So I think it's too easy. It's always blame the coach, blame this, blame that. I don't really buy it. I'm going to say the Jays players got to nut up a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that they do. A clutch hit would be nice when you're stranding, like 8 batters that they have already. But I don't like Schneider's his management with his pitchers. And, whether it's analytics or, the higher ups telling him, to use those things. There's just so many head scratching decisions. So I would be okay with it. Somebody to shake it up. Obviously, you have to find a manager who is going to be a big improvement. So that adds it a little more complications, but I would be totally okay if they decide to make a change. If they can't rally here, final question for you. Liev Schreiber celebrates his birthday today, turns 56
What about the
years
FIBA
old.
question?
Oh, FIFA. Sorry. Yes, FIFA. They've announced today that they're going to be having a lot of hosts for the 2030 World Cup. Co-host will be Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. Also, Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay will be hosting staging games. Do you like having all these countries involved?
Okay, so staging games in Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay, and then the playoffs will be in Spain, Portugal, and Morocco?
It looks like that's what the plan is, yes.
So I'm guessing because no one wants to bid and pay the ridiculous amount that they want. I think what's happening here is slowly federations around the world are realizing this is a joke what we're paying. Right? And what they're asking for is beginning too much. So, but it also probably spreads it out. And you know what? Hey, you're going into Uruguay and Paraguay and Argentina, pretty soccer mad countries. Same as Portugal, Spain, and Morocco. So I think for fans, right? Like you travel to different places and hey, let's go to the World Cup. We're going to go to one game in Spain. Then we can go to one game in Portugal or go to another one in Morocco. Like it could make it a little bit more of a haul. This is probably actually a smart decision by them. I don't trust anything that FIFA does. I think they're one of the more corrupt organizations going. So I hate the fact that it might even be a good idea because they'll just end up making more money.
Yeah, I mean, I do like this idea. And then, those countries hopefully have a world-class facility that they can continue to use, and it's not 3 or 4 being built for one tournament. So I hope it's a benefit. I kind of like it that you're spreading it out. Final question here. Liev Schreiber celebrates his birthday. Kind of a surprise. I know him from his acting, but he also does voiceover work for HBO, Hard Knocks, and the 24/7 when they would cover the NHL. In your opinion, who's got the best voiceover there? And I'm talking just voiceovers, not singing or anything like that.
Oh, Morgan Freeman.
Not bad.
Who you got?
I like Bill Curtis personally. I mean, James Earl Jones is up there as well, but Bill Curtis used to do crime shows. Just a smooth voice.
Really?
Yeah, very smooth. American Justice and Cold Case Files.
So he's like the narrator voice?
Yeah.
Oh.
You want to have a good nap, you just listen to him talk.
Just that deep, full type of voice?
Yeah, just a smooth voice. Like, he's going to talk slowly and you're going to be hooked on every word.
Okay. Interesting. Hadn't thought about it. Text line is heating up right now. Hey, guys, it's obvious they got to get rid of the manager. He just pulled Berrios for no reason. But again, he made that pitching change. It hasn't hurt the Jays. Have they given up a run since he got pulled? No, they haven't scored a run. Now, I might not like, but that's not going to change. They haven't scored any runs. They haven't given up anything since they pulled them. So you could argue that it was the right decision because the game is still 2-0. They're not farther behind. That decision actually hasn't hurt the Jays in any fashion.
Well, Kikuchi gave up both runs.
Kikuchi gave up. I thought
got the runner on first, and then Kikuchi came in, loaded the bases.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then there was the error, was there not? Because there's only one RBI. Well, I was on with Simpson at that time. So wasn't there the one error?
See, I was listening to Simpson too, so I was kind of side-eyeing it. But
so he loaded the bases? Kikuchi did?
Berrios had one on. He had 5 strikes through 3. Like he was
5
dealing.
Strikeouts.
Yeah. He looked good. So
now, what did they? Now, did you hear the broadcast? What was the you mentioned that analytics? Why? How many pitches did he have? It's only the 4th inning, right?
Theory through. I gotta find the pitching stats here.
Now, I'm guessing it was a righty-lefty matchup that they were looking at.
47.
Okay, so they were going to the matchup as far as a lefty, which I would agree. Then it's probably too early to go to it. So that's a valid question. I would love to know his answer, but as you said, Connor, and so it's easy to say it's always analytics. Part of it's got to be a gut feel too, right? Coaches always say there's some analytics and then there's a gut feel. and say, okay, well, you know what? The analytics will tell me that this lefty against this batter, the guy's hitting like 180. Okay. But if your starting pitcher is playing very well, then do you buck the odds? Because it's not like Berrios gets crushed, right, by lefties all the time. So I don't have a problem because there's something about, here's the thing, and this is going to sound really bad. There's something about Schneider's face I don't like. And that's the worst reason to want to fire a manager. I'll admit it. It's the worst. But there's just something about him. I don't know. When I look at him, I'm like, he doesn't seem likable. Do you get that? Like, I don't know what it is. I'm just like, he doesn't, I don't know. There's something that just rubs me the wrong way. It's not even his decisions. There's just something that rubs me the wrong way about him.
Jays had a chance to get out of the inning. I think it was Bichette threw it away. So, yeah, you can't blame Schneider for that.
Yes. Well, there's my point. So base running errors, getting picked off at second, now throwing errors. And like that's a throw that you should make all day. You're standing right at second base. You're not even moving. So now it hasn't cost him a run yet, but hey guys, my thought is, do you think the Jays leaders are not mature enough? Now that's a really good question. Mature enough in the sense of knowing when, like, I don't know if Vladdy's immature. I think at times he's his own worst enemy because he wants to do too much. And I know that's almost like a good quality to have. You want guys who care, but they can't care to the point that it's detrimental, where they feel like, you know what, like Connor said earlier, there's a runner on third base. Why are you leading off that much on second to get picked off? You're not going to steal. So what are you doing? And like one extra stride to save it is, even if you have to stop at third on a single, you're still safe. So we'd probably have to look deeper on the maturity thing for the Jays. I'll say this, though. I don't believe that outward emotion means you're immature. And I do think that sometimes as Canadians, people see somebody who's smiling, having fun. Oh, they don't care. You got to be serious all the time. And I will disagree with that. Everybody's a different personality. And if some guys dancing makes them feel better and more loose, great. As long as you produce and as long as you play well when it matters. So I don't care if you're the biggest singer, you're the biggest dancer, or you're somebody who has a stoic face 100% of the time. That to me doesn't matter. It's how you play. But I don't believe that if you are outwardly exuberant, that means all of a sudden you don't care. I think that's a slippery slope. And keep in mind that Europeans and a lot of other cultures are more outgoing than we are in North America. That's a fact. I don't think anybody can debate that. We're a little bit like, well, geez, we don't want to show excitement. So if you have an issue with Guerrero because he's a little too outwardly jubilant, I'm not sure I buy that the reason why he's having a tough year. I think that's just who his personality is. And having fun doesn't mean you don't care. Connor Halley, he has lots of fun, but he cares about the sports update brought to you by Edmonton Kubota, and they care about savings right now. 0% financing for 84 months. 0% on all compact BX tractors at VolvoEdmonton.com.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Oilers in action tonight, taking on the Flames in a preseason. This one gets going just after 7 o'clock. Also Kraken in Vancouver. Devils host the Rangers. Penguins take on the Red Wings and the Sabres in Columbus. Major League Baseball today, the Jays currently trailing 2-0 in the bottom of the 7th. Earlier today, Rangers knocked the Rays out of the playoffs, winning 7-1. Still to come tonight, Brewers host the Diamondbacks and the Marlins take on the Phillies. The Oil Kings in action, taking on the Saskatoon Blades. That gets going in about an hour. And in the AJ Spruce Grove, in action, taking on the Lloydminster Bobcats. That's a 7 o'clock start. Coming up in hour 4 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by Mark Spector of Rogers Sportsnet and the voice of the Oil Kings, Andrew Peard. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJ.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Roger Weir and his team at Weir, Pearson, Akel and Associates Private Wealth Management, helping business owners and professionals build, protect, and enjoy their wealth. Earn more now and call Roger and his team at 988-4119.
Sports Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
It's game day Wednesday. Welcome back to the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440. Also live, Oilers Nation YouTube. The Gregor Show, as always, is presented by PlayAlberta.ca, where you can get in the game. You want to get in on a little preseason NHL action, you can. You want to get in on single game betting, they got it all. Or maybe you're just like, you know what? I'm just feeling lucky. I'm going to play the lottery. Well, $6.49 tonight, $5 million. And also there's a $12 million for the gold ball. Check it out. PlayAlberta.ca. Jason Gregor alongside Connor Halley. Lots of text still to get it. Cons, did you pick a winner for the tickets yet?
I did. Yeah. I can grab their names right now. Got a lot of. I've been really focused on the Jays, Gregor. So I've been getting kind of.
Yeah, Cons was pretty rattled. He thought Chapman's double was fair.
Oh,
he thought he had tied the game, and literally it's inches.
You know what? Both Justins.
Oh, two different Justins.
Justin P and Justin B. So yeah, they've accepted. They're going to the game tonight.
Oh, the peanut butter twins. All right, P and B. Okay, going to the game. I like it. Nice. Let's get to the spec report now. Brought to you by GS Construction. And guess what? They are hiring right now. Go to Indeed.com, look up GS Construction. And you want to work for a great company, great wages, great benefits, great culture. They got it all. Indeed.com, GS Construction, as Mark Spector from Rogers Sportsnet joins. Oh, Spec, the baseball guy. You must have been losing your mind when that pitching change came, eh?
Yeah, the pitching change. I think that pitching change in today's world of baseball is not made by the manager. I mean, he executes the move, but I think that's a move that's made by the made by the analytics department with the blessing of somebody over top of the manager, in my opinion. I don't know for sure because I'm not in Schneider's head, but there's not a baseball person that I know that would pull that pulled Barrios the way he was dealing after 47 pitches. I mean, he's just starting to really be warming. So yeah, that decision comes from the inner sanctum somewhere, and it's a problem for baseball, Jay. Analytics is a problem for baseball. I'm here to tell you, it's a problem.
You have to find a way to combine it with understanding and say, you know what? Okay, if that's in the seventh inning, he's got 89 pitches or not. Okay. But 47, what Connor said, he had 5 strikeouts at that point. So that's a, and then, hey,
watch him pitch. Yeah. His pitches were, he was right on. Like his command was absolutely perfect. Anyone who knows anything about pitching or baseball will tell you, you get through the first inning, the second inning when you're warming up. Once you get into 3, 4, 5, if you're going, that's your meat and potatoes. All the good pitchers who are having a good performance mow through those middle innings. Now let's talk when the guys start coming up for the third time, right? And maybe the fourth time. Okay, maybe we need a reliever then. Don't tell me you need a reliever after 47 pitches when a guy's pitching like that. That's a hocus pocus numbers game right there, baby.
That's totally
fair.
That's
the same numbers that made Mark Fein an awesome defenseman. That's what they are. And Martin Marinson.
Oh God, Martin Marinson.
Yep. Same numbers, pal. Same numbers that made Jesse Puljujarvi the same guy as Jere Lehtinen. That's who makes those numbers. It's the same guy.
Oh God, yeah. Remember, when people voted him for the Selke. God love us. So
one guy. One guy.
Yeah, exactly. Now, well, and then we don't even have time to get to the base running gaffes by the Jays and their inability.
Let's talk about the base run. You know what? Here's what you should say too, though, Jay. Like, I don't know. I don't watch the Twins play all year. I don't know if they've picked anybody off all year long, but the Twins are an organization that's always been heavy into fundamentals. Like, they were a station to station team for a long time, right? If you can't bunt a guy over, you can't play for the Twins. That's who they were. Call it, you might like it, you might say it never worked for them, that's fine, but that's who they were. So at the very most important point in their season to date, Sonny Gray doesn't even look back at second base. When do you think he got the sign on that pickoff? Like how many seconds before he told the rubber did the shortstop say, give him whatever their sign is? He flashes him a sign, right? And Gray goes to the rubber. He doesn't even look, and then he turns around and throws a 95-mile-an-hour ball right in the base. Like that is Vladdy's lazy and derelict, and never ever should get caught. But that's a hell of a pickoff play.
Oh God, yeah, it was. Now the Edmonton Oilers, of course, tonight taking on the Calgary Flames Wranglers squad. Not a lot of NHL top six forwards in that lineup. Not many of their top D in the lineup. Thank God preseason hockey is almost done, so we can get to games that really matter with actual NHL rosters. But there's still some stuff on the line for guys, whichever ones of Ernie and Peterson and Lavoie play or not. But, the other thing is the Oilers' power play. It's being dominant. It's a key part of their team. As Leon Draisaitl said, hey, you got to be great at something, and that's something they're great at. And, Jay Woodcroft wants to go get those guys some action, because something tells me, Spec, Friday we might not see McDavid and Draisaitl, unless I wonder if the power play struggles. I don't know, but I think tonight the Oilers, if they get some chances, look for their first unit to just want to settle down and start banging home some goals.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there. Those guys play if the power play needs a little bit of work. That's when they play. So let's see. You know what? I mean, we had this conversation. This will be McDavid's third game tonight. Is that correct?
Yes.
I think it's his third game. And I recall him saying to me, I need 3 games. I like 3 games. If they give me a fourth, I'll play the fourth. So I think that they have the conversation tomorrow. Leon, Connor, do you feel like you want the game? If you want the game, you're playing. And B, do we feel like our power play needs the game? This will be something that unless the power play can't find itself tonight and is terrible. If it's okay, I would think Woodcroft goes to his big boys and says, what do you think? Do you think we want another night of a dress rehearsal on this? Don't you?
100%. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I think if they move it around and everything's looking good, I think they might say, okay, good. We don't need McDavid or Draisaitl in the final game of the preseason. Even Spec, like, it would have to be probably awful for them not to do it, to be honest.
Well, it hasn't been very good so far, but they haven't had everybody. It's when you don't have Bouchard at the back end, it makes such a huge difference. Like, they call that guy the quarterback for a reason. He may not get a point on every goal, but it always seems to start with him. So let's see what they got tonight when they got all their horses.
You look at, Woodcroft said he still believes the competition's wide open, and I would agree for him, but something tells me the way the rotation's going, Stuart Skinner's starting game 1 of the regular season. Doesn't mean he's going to be the starter after 10 games or 30 games or 50 games or whatever it is. But, like, do you see any way that Jack Campbell could start Friday and then again Wednesday?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I asked Jay yesterday, is it an open competition for that game 1 in Vancouver? And he said, yes, it is. So I'll take him at his word. Look, let's say that Stu Skinner walks out of this game with the same save percentage he's going into it with. He's like 888 or something like that right now in the preseason. And let's say that Jack Campbell walks out of Friday night's game with the same save percentage he's at, which is about 960. So if it's an open competition, the way the coach looked straight in the camera and said it was, Jack Campbell has to start that game. He's clearly had a better preseason. Like, there's no one thing about goalies. I'm blasting analytics here. I don't consider save percentage an analytic, right? That's how you judge a goalie these days. And if there's a spread of about 80 points, I don't see how Campbell can't start game 1.
Yeah, well, I look at Skinner. I thought his first game was fine. The game in Vancouver, there was the one goal I didn't really like, but other than that, I'm not sure he's terrible. But just, you're right, Campbell has been better. There's no question. He's looked incredibly well. He's also, he's almost been almost put in a position to look better because those 2 road games didn't have the best lineup in front of him, and it was a shooting gallery, and sometimes goalies really like that. So I give him credit, and you know what, he could be right. We had Yaremchuk on earlier. He thinks they give Skinner the home game and say, hey, you're still our starter, but Campbell goes in, there's less pressure on the road. I don't know if either one worries about the pressure, but I think either way, Spec, barring a shutout, I think they split the first 2 regular season games.
Yeah, that's, you know what? I mean, I don't know if I'm going to say that to you. Like, let's say you're coaching a team, and let's say, just for fun, for the sake of this conversation, let's say it is Campbell that starts the first game. And let's say he gets a shutout in the road. What are you going to bench him the second game? You know, so I'm not, I learned long ago, if it's back-to-backs, that's different. But if they play Wednesday, they play Saturday. There's 2 off days in between, man. So no, I'm not gonna pick game number 2 till I watch game number 1. But it's not out of this world that the same guy could start them both.
And last one for you, Spec. When you look at the orders, and is there anything you would like to see from these final 2 preseason games? Like, is there anything you're watching for at all?
What am I watching for? I wish Ekholm was playing because I'd like to see Broberg with them. That's what we've missed in this camp. Okay. That's a big thing. I came into camp looking to see that, and we obviously haven't seen any of it. You know, really the only guys that we're concerned with here are all 4th line players, and Lavoie, Ernie, Peterson, and it's hard. Like, Lavoie's got an advantage because if he snipes a goal or 2, that's his thing, and it stands out, and he looks good. When you're Adam Ernie and when you're Peterson, it's like the guy who builds the addition on your house. You look at that addition, you go, man, did you do good work? And the guy that puts in the sewer, you never see it, and you don't know what the hell it looks like, and you go, thanks for the sewer. What do I owe you? So Ernie and Peterson, how are they standing out? They're 4th line guys. They're not going out and scoring a bunch of goals. I'm here to tell you. They might pot one, maybe. But the things they do, the coaching staff hopefully sees them. You and me see them all the time? As much as we can, but not every time. So it's hard for them to impress. They're not flashy guys. They don't have flashy roles. But one of them's going to make the team, likely, and one of them's going somewhere else. So it's big for them, that's for sure.
Spec, have yourself an awesome day. We'll see you at the rink.
All right, see you at the rink, Jake.
That is Mark Spector. The Spec Report brought to you by GS Construction. We'll return. We are going to continue to talk some hockey talk right here on Edmonton's Sports Authority, Sports 1440.
At Fountain Tire, save big during our Road Ready sales event until October 21st. Who wouldn't want up to 25% on select tires and a bonus of $50 off any service? A lizard, maybe? Or a ghost? Restrictions apply. Financing available. Book your appointment at fountaintire.com.
Some things just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients, better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. That's SPORTS20.
Come into Jiffy Lube for a Pennzoil Platinum full synthetic oil change and receive a $20 digital gift card to one of over 30 merchants, such as Cineplex or Bass Pro Shops. For a location near you, visit jiffylubeservice.ca. Jiffy Lube, keeping you moving.
At The Brick, we're not just proud of this city and its rich sports history. We're proud partners of it. The Brick started right here in Edmonton over
A quote for your project today. Visit BIEENG.com.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Cantork. We've continued developing tools and are excited to announce our newest design, the battery-powered nut runners, 4 models from 500 to 3,000 foot-pounds, with more on the way. Learn more at cantork.com.
Sports Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Rolling through Wednesday afternoon, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you. As the con man is just, I don't see the con man fired up very often, but he's fired up right now. He's fired up. Cons, I never know that baseball got you this intense.
Sports does it to me. This is every Sunday during the NFL season.
Oh, jeez.
But no, it's not necessarily losing, but it's the fashion in which they lose, you know? If you would have told me, and some people out there at the Jays, you know, they're only going to give up 5 runs in the first 2 games, what would the record be in this series? I'd say, well, worst case scenario, probably 1-1. That's got to do something, right? But that hasn't been the case. So, yeah, it's a frustrating one.
Okay.
Down to their final 3 outs.
Hey, so they got a chance, 3 outs, but it's tough. It is very tough. No question about that. Let's get in the community now. Brought to you by United Cycle, where Hockey Days is on at United Sport and Cycle, where you can save up to 35% off. United Sport and Cycle, your home for hockey for over 95 years. It's awesome. Being in the community a long time, knowledge, trustworthy. Everybody knows them there. It's great. And let's talk a little Edmonton Oil Kings. As the voice of the Oil Kings, Andrew Peard, joins us once again. Peardsy, how you doing, my man?
Doing well, Greg. How are you?
Oh, hey, I'm better than the Jays right now, buddy. Connor Halley, they got everybody on edge. That's what playoffs does, though. I love it. People get fired up.
You should have seen the Oil Kings bus on the way here to the SaskTel Center. Not happy with the decisions being made. Hate to see it. You hate to see it.
Oh, yeah. No, that's... You know, it's almost better when there's a big group of people that are diehard sports fans, because then everybody gets fired up, and it's quite good.
Yeah, everyone's just feeding off each other's emotions. It's a good thing, though. I think if you're going to the game, get everyone a little bit on edge, and hopefully that's able to carry over to the game here tonight.
Well, a big win last night for the Oil Kings. They hadn't beat PA in quite some time, but a 3-0 shutout last night. Before we get to tonight's matchup, let's talk a little bit about that one. Pretty big win for the Oil Kings.
Yeah, it's not every day that you go into the Art Hauser Center and take 2 points out of there. It's one of the hardest rinks to go into in the league. But for the Oil Kings, that's the first time they've actually ever shut out the Raiders, whether it be in the Art Hauser Center, Rexall Place, or Rogers Place. So,
wow.
It was a really good game from the Oil Kings, top to bottom. They get out to a good start in the first period, and you know Colby Hay, he's been rock solid for Edmonton in his 3 starts so far this season, and not really a surprise. He's a guy that's been in the league for 3 years. He was behind Sebastian Costa during the championship run, so he understands what it takes to win in this league, and he's been a big reason for Edmonton to be off to a hot start in that game in Prince Albert. Maybe their best 60-minute effort so far of this season for the Oil Kings. I thought they had 3 lines going. Their defense core it's just so much more stable this year. It's still a young group back there, but they're a young group with experience from last year, and I thought that really shone through last night in Prince Albert as really able to just shut down any sort of attack that the Raiders were trying to generate after Edmonton did a good job to establish an early lead.
Andrew Peard joins us, the voice of the Edmonton Oil Kings. They are on the road tonight, fresh off of a 3-1 victory last night. So the back-to-backs don't seem as difficult when you win 3-0. The goaltender played great, but Jekko and Litke, 2 points each, and Jekko's, man, he's off to a red hot start.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable, and I think just talking with Luke Pierce, the Oil Kings head coach, and Kurt Hill, the general manager, just trying to gauge their expectations on Adam as he joins the Western Hockey League for the first time. And he's still just 17 years old. You have to remind yourself of that because he's 6'5", 202 pounds. But they wanted to temper expectations on Adam early because no matter what physical assets you do have, when you're coming over from playing in Europe your whole life to now playing the North American game, it's going to be an adjustment period. But through training camp, he seemed to have made that adjustment quite easily. And now here in the regular season, they keep throwing top 6 minutes at him, top 6 matchups at him, and he continues to handle it. And we're really starting to see his skill on display. I just think of the way he was able to help create that first goal for himself, keeping plays alive in the offensive zone and using his frame to shield pucks from defenders. And, it's been really impressive. And Aiden Littke's sort of the perfect match for him and line mate for him. He's a guy that's been in this league for a long time. He's a 20-year-old veteran. There's nothing that's going to get thrown at him that he hasn't seen before. And, he's able to talk with Adam a lot on the ice and make sure he understands all the assignments. And those two just together, it's been instant chemistry, and both of them off to fantastic starts here.
And the Oil Kings have a kind of a unique schedule because they have so many home games to start. And, so you get these 2 big road wins would be huge. And, that pushed them up to 4-1. So let's focus on tonight now. And, pretty tough opponent.
Yeah, very tough opponent. The Saskatoon Blades, they went all the way to the Eastern Conference Final a season ago and ended up losing to the Winnipeg Ice there. But this is a veteran group led by, former Oil King, actually, as the head coach, Brendan Sawney. But they've started to get pretty much all their players back now from NHL training camp, with the exception of one, that being Jake Chason, still with the Bakersfield Condors right now. But I actually just spoke with Brendan Sawney, the head coach of the Saskatoon Blades, because this team's out to a 2-2 start, and I think when you're missing as many guys, I think it was 5 or 6 guys they had away at NHL training camp. That's not a bad start at all. But he seemed displeased with what he's seen so far from his team. So I think we're going to see a very fired up, a very hungry Saskatoon team here tonight. And for Edmonton, they're going to have to be on their toes early because they're playing back-to-back games. Saskatoon, they've been off since last weekend. So for Edmonton, it's going to be critical for them to start on time here tonight.
You look at the Eastern Conference specifically, a lot of people think Saskatoon's going to be one of the top teams. Who else do you see at the top, or who do you expect to be there? Like, I know early season, some teams are missing guys and stuff. So, the early records maybe not necessarily the most indicative of what the teams are. But if I talk to you at the 30 game mark, and I know I'll talk to you before then, but who do you expect to be at the top?
Yeah, it's interesting this year. And I was actually just speaking with Les Lazaruk, who's been doing the play-by-play for the Blades for a very, very long time. And he says, and I feel the same way, there's a lot more parity in the Eastern Conference this year than we've seen in years past in the Western Hockey League. Obviously, the Oil Kings for a number of years there were sort of the lead dog, and then the Winnipeg Ice last year. I think in August of last year, we could have predicted that they'd make their way to the WHL Championship Series. But this year, it does feel a lot more wide open, but the Saskatoon Blades, certainly one of those teams 30 games from now, I think we'll be talking about them being in and around the top of the East Division and the Eastern Conference. The Moose Jaw Warriors, they've got a number of really good players. Brayden Yager, Jager Furcus, Denton Matejchuk. That's a team loaded with NHL talent. So expect them to be in the mix. The Swift Current Broncos, we've been waiting on them the last couple of years. Is this the year that they take a step? I think it might be. They've got a number of drafted players, impressive players in their lineup. And the one team I think to keep an eye on is the Medicine Hat Tigers. They've got that young 16-year-old Gavin McKenna. He's not the next Connor Bedard, but he's maybe the next closest thing that you're going to find to it. So they've got a really young, skilled team. And right now, early on in the season, they look like a team ready to challenge a team like the Red Deer Rebels for the Central Division.
Yeah, I'm always skeptical. I don't love putting too much pressure, especially on 16-year-olds. But I've been reading a lot about him. I haven't seen him play. Andrew, have you seen him? And what's the expectations? And when do the Tigers come to town for any Oil Kings fans? So maybe want to watch him.
Yeah, he's I did get a chance to watch him late last year. He was called up for a handful of games as a 15-year-old, and as a 15-year-old, he was averaging a point per game. He was playing top line minutes. He was quarterbacking their power play, so they're feeding him all the opportunity. And you know what? It's kind of interesting. We've noticed this over the last 3 years in the WHL. It used to be, you'd have 1 or 2 16-year-olds on your team, and you would shelter them as best you could. You would limit their minutes. And it was at 17 years old that you'd really take the reins off them and see what they're able to produce. But nowadays, these 16-year-olds are coming in. They're chock full of confidence. They're chock full of skill. And, coaches are just saying, hey, you know what? if he's the most skilled player on our team, we're going to give him every opportunity to succeed. And I think we're going to see that with young Gavin McKenna. So, I don't think we're going to see him, though, at Rogers Place until, I want to say it's in November that they roll through. But we'll see him 3 times this year, and he'll be certainly worth the price of admission with the Tigers in town.
Andrew Pearce joins us, the voice of the Edmonton Oil Kings. Of course, you can listen to all their games on iHeartRadio. They got their own Oil Kings channel this season, so it's a great way to listen to the game. Pearce calls a fantastic game all the time, so it's nice. A few other things around the WHL right now, Andrew, and you just look at the leagues that we see, and the only team now, the Victoria Royals haven't won, but it's not a great start for Wenatchee with what's going on. Have you heard anything about that investigation and what's maybe coming next?
Honestly, I haven't. It's been sort of through the leadership of the Western Hockey League, they're handling that situation, and obviously with Ron Robinson at the helm, we know that what needs to happen will happen, and we're just kind of waiting, like everybody else, to really see what all shakes out there in Wenatchee. Obviously, not the start that they wanted as a franchise, but good to see that swift action was taken, and they can start to fix whatever mistakes went on there, and try and become obviously the team they want to be in the WHL.
Any lineup changes for the Oil Kings tonight?
Nathan Pilling's going to sit this one out, a little nicked up, but nothing major. He's day-to-day. He'll likely be back in the lineup on Saturday. So Trayson Watney will draw into the Edmonton lineup, first time this year, coming off an upper body injury. And then the Oil Kings right now, they have 4 healthy 20-year-olds on their roster. So right now, Jacob Hofrogge and Kean Bell kind of playing musical chairs in the lineup. Hofrogge's going to sit this one out, even though he's been dynamite the last couple of games, but it's just the situation that Edmonton's in. Kean Bell's going to come in, and he's going to provide a little bit of offensive spark up front with Nathan Pilling unavailable.
Now, how long do you expect that to last? Or do you think Kurt Hill will look to try to move one of his 20-year-olds sooner than later?
Well, you got till October 10th, and then you have to make a decision by then. So obviously over the next, 6 days that the Oil Kings are going to have to make a decision on that situation. And it's a tough one, man, I tell you, because Kean, he's an interesting story. He's well-traveled, started his major junior career in the QMJHL, ended up as a 19-year-old in the SJ and was the MVP of that league, scored over 50 goals, and now he's here in Edmonton. His mom obviously played with the Canadian national women's team in 1996. She played for the Edmonton Chimos. It's a really neat story. He's a very talented player, but then you got Jacob Hofrogge on the back end who he's done everything that the coaching staff has asked of him. He's improved his game leaps and bounds, and he provides a bit of a different element for the Oil Kings on the back end. He skates extremely well. He's more of a shifty defenseman. We've got a lot of big body defenders back there. So with Jacob, he's kind of a nice little outlier on the Oil Kings defense and what his skill set is. So I'm not quite sure how to handicap who's going to be when October 10th rolls around, but wherever one of them ends up, whatever team gets them is obviously getting a really good player.
Andrew, have a great call, man. We'll talk to you throughout the year. Appreciate your time.
Hey, anytime. Thanks for having me on, Greg.
That's Andrew Pearce, the voice of the Oil Kings. It's in the community, brought to you by United Sport and Cycle. Your place. Shop for over 95 years. Crazy. Geez, Low Tide and Brownlee, one of their first jobs working at United Sport and Cycle. Quick break. We'll come back. Warren Fogle will join us. We'll talk more about the Oilers lineup, and the rage has peaked. We'll tell you why next on The Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, live on Sports 1440 and Oilers Nation YouTube.
A solid financial plan is made up of more than just investments. Investments are an important part, but you need a more comprehensive approach. Vincent Pearson at Weird Pearson Akel & Associates Private Wealth Management understands that. He can help build a plan that includes retirement, estate planning, personal insurance, tax strategies, and yes, investments. Talk to him today and see the difference a real financial plan makes. Weird Pearson Akel & Associates. Call 780-988-4119 or visit weirdadvisoryteam.com.
You've got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk, family run since 1939. We're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
Hey everyone, it's Kelly here from United Sport and Cycle. United's annual Hockey Days sale is on now. Save up to 20% off on skates, 25% off on equipment, and 35% off on all Pro Stock sticks. United Sport and Cycle, your home of hockey for over 95 years.
How exciting is it to have Sports Talk Radio back in Edmonton?
Tie game, bottom of the ninth with a full count. The kick, the pitch. It's high, it's far, it is gone! Walk-off home run!
Yeah, it's pretty much like that. Edmonton Kubota is excited to welcome back Sports Talk Radio, Sports 1440. We'll be dialed in for every minute. Get it done, and then some, at Edmonton Kubota. All compact BX tractors on sale with 0% financing for 84 months. Stop by on 128th Ave or visit EdmontonKubota.com.
What you eating there?
Oh, just a Leon's $10,000 shopping spree in a Chevy Colorado.
How do you plan to get all that from a Big Mac?
Monopoly Double Play.
Monopoly Double Play?
First, I peel on pack, then I peel an app. 2 ways to play and win.
So basically, you're potentially holding the most lucrative Big Mac ever?
No, I'm potentially eating the most lucrative Big Mac ever.
Now you can double play at McDonald's for more ways to win millions of prizes. While supplies last, chances of winning change as prices are claimed. Chances of winning McD's app prices based on time of code entry. See rules at participating McDonald's in Canada or at mcdpromotion.ca.
It's time to gear up for fall at Wolf GMC Buick, but there's a catch. We'll get to that. You're not going to pay high rates like 6.9%. You'll pay 0% financing on all in-stock GMC Sierra Half-Ton Pro Editions, and that's for 60 months. You'll also save $750 if you're a Costco member. 0% financing for 60 months on all in-stock GMC Sierra Half-Ton Pro Editions. The catch? You'll need to get here ASAP because inventory is cruising off the lot pretty quickly. Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy.
There's nothing like having a little skin in the game to make things interesting. But when a little skin becomes more than you can afford to lose, it's time to take a break from sports betting. Set a budget and stick to it. If you gamble, use your game sense.
When Ottawa's proposed electricity regulations make electricity unaffordable, you may have to make some hard choices.
Winter boots for my kids.
Groceries for my family.
Our mortgage. My rent. Braces.
A rainy day fund. Visit tellthefeds.ca to learn why your power bill could be 4 times higher than today. And tell the feds, affordable and reliable electricity matters. A message from the Government of Alberta.
This holiday season is all about giving thanks. Hi, I'm Jasmine from Canadian Blood Services. This Thanksgiving long weekend, you can give the ultimate gift, helping save lives. We're asking you to include booking an appointment for a life-saving blood donation in your long weekend plans. Did you know Edmonton alone has over 4,000 appointments to fill every month? You can do your part to help this Thanksgiving and become part of Canada's Lifeline. Book now at blood.ca or call 1-888-2donate.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Crystal Glass, the clear choice for all your auto, residential, and commercial glass. Call 310-GLASS or book now at crystalglass.ca.
Sports Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
We roll through Wednesday. Disappointing Wednesday for Jays fans. They lose 2 in a row and are out of the 2023 MLB playoffs. I guess the only good news for Jays fans, they weren't the first team eliminated. That was Tampa. Tampa won 99 games. But guess what? Injuries at the wrong time. And they got spanked 7-1 today. So they are out. Texas is going to take on Baltimore in the next round. And Minnie is going to face Houston. Meanwhile, we could have a two. Who knows? Maybe the best of threes will all be done in 2 nights. Now, I think Milwaukee's going to come back and win, but you never know. We will see. I won't be surprised if Philly dispatches of Miami, the Marlins. tonight. But Milwaukee, I won't be surprised if they push that one to 3 games. We need at least one. We need at least one to go 3 games. And it's awesome because baseball will get us through, because let's be real. You, me, Connor, every listener out there is tired of the preseason. Look at the Oilers lineup tonight compared to the Flames. Like, the Flames are barely dressing anybody up front. Their lineup is young, and it's more like the Wranglers. Here's their lineup: Sharon Govich, Ruzicka, Dubé. Now, those guys will all be on their NHL team. Klapka, Schmidt, and Dewar. I think Dewar will be on the team. Siona, Hunt, Pospisil, doubt it. Honzek, Zari, and Pedersen, doubt it. So they got 4 out of 12 forwards. On defense, Osterley and Zadorov, Poirier, Gilbert, Solyvov, and DeSimone. 2 of those guys likely starting on the blue line. Maybe 1. And then Dan Vladar. And who knows? Will Vladar even be a Flame? Like, are they going to trade him? What are you going to do? They want Dustin Wolf to get in, but they might have to be patient and see. Maybe you keep Dan Vladar. If Tampa's not interested, maybe another team would be if they get an early injury to a goaltender. I don't think you want to put Vladar on waivers and lose him for nothing, do you? That's probably not the best asset management. I could think of. He's a pretty good goalie. He's not great, but he's decent. I think he's got potential for sure. But they also have Dustin Wolf, who's lit it up the last 2 years in the American League. So, Oilers, meanwhile, all their big top 6 are going. David, Draisaitl, Kane, Nuge, and Hopkins, Brown, Hyman, Bouchard, and Nurse are in. You know, Fogle, Holloway likely playing. Malone, Peterson, yes. Then there's, I think Lavoie's in. So that means like one of Ernie or Janmark. I guess it's possible they give Dylan Holloway a night off. He's played a fair amount, but he's a young kid. I think you want to keep him rolling. So we'll see. We'll get to Warren Fogle now in the room, brought to you by GS Construction. Guess what, baby? They are hiring. Go to gsconstruction.com. Wonderful place to work. And also a big shout out to Devo from Next Gen Transportation. He is currently he's in the final qualification round for the Canadian bobsled team. So hoping he can make it. Good luck, Devo. And here is Warren Fogle discussing just kind of, how does he look at the preseason as, historically for him? If you're off to a good start, does it carry over? Is there a carryover for him personally based on other preseasons?
You're just trying to build your game for the start of the season. I've heard Woody used to call these dress rehearsals, and you're just trying to get yourself engaged physically and mentally to get prepared for the game one.
You're one of the few guys who really hasn't played with his regular line mate because Ryan McLeod's been banged up. You guys have played together before. You had a lot of success in the playoffs. Does continuity, like, ideally, are you bugging him like, hey, get back on the ice so we can play at least one game?
Yeah, there's been some jokes going back and forth. It's just part of the process. He's skating hard right now, and I'm confident that he'll be back shortly.
When you look at this season, there just seems to be a different focus. Not that the group wasn't focused before, but the loss last year really seemed to kick guys in the gut a little bit more, and it stings. Everybody here early on September 1st. You've been, on competitive teams in Carolina a lot, and obviously here too. But can you maybe try to put into words what's different this year?
I think this last year was just the realization of the game is a game of inches, and is a huge kick to the stomach because we were right there, and not everyone gets that opportunity to go that far. And I think this year it's our focus to have a good start. That's something we didn't have last year, and build good habits the first start of the season that will lead us to good habits come playoff time.
The second half of last year in the playoffs might have been the best you played as a member of the Edmonton Oilers, and you did it with a banged up hand. Update, how are you feeling physically, and can you pinpoint what went well for you down the stretch last year?
Yeah, feeling healthy, had a good summer, got stronger. All of us were working really hard this summer, and I think for myself, it was just, playing with confidence, getting the trust of my coaches and teammates, and, just working hard and playing confident. I think that's probably the major thing, and, hoping to continue that, going into the start of the season.
when you were in Carolina, you were regularly on the penalty kill. I know that's something you've wanted to do here in Edmonton. And, Jay Woodcroft said openly that, hey, he'd like to get you in more. Obviously, you've done a little bit in the preseason. How important is that to you? And how do you ensure that you stay on the penalty kill?
Yeah, I think the first thing to stay on it is not get scored on. But for me, it's important because, it keeps you in the game. Our power play is so good and historic power play. So ideally, it'd be good to be on a special team so you're involved in the game. And for myself, it's just, being quick, breaking up passes and, trying to not let them score.
And how were your pickleball skills in the tournament?
Yeah, we were the upset. I had the best player in Bouchard on my team. And we had a hard division, but we were the chokers. We were the favorites. And, we lost in the semis to Connor and Malone, Connor McDavid. And, that one hurt. But we definitely had the harder division. I don't know who Halsey and Broby were playing for their first couple of games, but, we play a lot actually here at the beginning of camp, a few of us. So, it's a lot of fun.
So what makes Bouch so good as a pickleballer?
He plays a lot in the summer. He plays a lot. So we play a lot of it in the summer too when we see each other, but he plays more on a regular basis. So he's dialed.
This is the second guy who talked about how the brackets were stacked and the guys who lost, they had to play each other. And I was like, are you fatigued? It's pickleball. Shouldn't you be better? The fact is, Broberg had really never played before, and Dylan Holloway has really just been learning. He's been paired with Bouchard, and they have a matchup against Fogle, and I can't remember who Fogle said his partner was, but he says it's pretty evenly because Bouchard's the best, and Holloway is just like he's the learning one. But clearly, Dylan Holloway is a quick learner in pickleball. Now, maybe he was getting some private lessons from Craig Button. I can't confirm or deny that. But maybe it was a possibility. You know what? He's in Calgary a little bit in the offseason. Who knows? Maybe he's working with Butts. As anybody who listens to the show knows, Butts a very, very serious pickleballer. Very serious about his pickleball. So
Craig's always been high on Holloway too. Maybe there's a reason for that.
Well, yeah. Maybe he realizes he's got the pickleball acumen. So, Evan Bouchard, you know what? Bouchard just he always seems calm. Now I've never played pickleball. So I wonder is that a forte of just being able to, he's got good hand-eye, but just being calm. He never gets rattled. Maybe that's why he's good, except wasn't able to get by Malone and McDavid, who then could not beat the young champions. Like, you know what? Maybe pickleball is just a young player's game now. McDavid's too old for pickleball. And Bouchard, now his birth certificate says he's one age. His face says he's a different age. So
the old soul.
Just saying. Yeah. Maybe it's too tiring for him, Cons.
I could see it.
Have you ever played pickleball?
I've never played pickleball.
No. Now I
don't even know where we'd go.
I have a question for our audience here today. And I'm curious. I think I know the answer, but again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm out of touch. Maybe it's changed. Maybe people's acceptance is different than mine. So I went to Subway today for, I walk in, I'm ordering my sub. And meanwhile, as I walk in the door, there was a lady sitting at a table. She had her phone out and she's watching a video loud. You can hear it. Now I couldn't hear, as I walk over to the counter, I can hear it, but I don't know exactly what's going on. I'm not looking, I'm not watching. So, I'm waiting in line. There's someone in front of me. So I'm probably in there 6 minutes, Cons.
Mm-hmm.
This thing is on the entire time. Am I wrong? Where have we gotten to as a society that's acceptable? Is it now I get, I don't know. She was probably in her mid-20s, right? They grew up on their phone. I didn't grow up on my phone. But if you're shouldn't you just put in headphones there? Are we, no one wants to hear that. There was other people sitting there in the restaurant. Now they can't see it, but you can hear it. And it's kind of and you can't hear it clear enough, nor would you care. But I honestly want to say, excuse me, can you turn that down? Should I have I'm feeling like Struds right now that I was geez, I should have said something, but I didn't. But I'm curious. Let me know, is it okay for me to say, pardon me? can you turn that down or put headphones in? Like, is that, I think that's the normal thing to say, but I was like, geez, maybe I'm wrong now. Maybe that's what everybody does now.
No, that's super annoying. And I mean, that behavior shouldn't be tolerated. So I think you probably could have gotten away with it, and you probably would have been a hero to everyone else in the subway that has to put up with it. I don't think that's a youth thing. I mean, maybe it's a product of missing out on some key years due to the pandemic, and those opportunities where someone would call you out on that, like, yo, you just don't do that. But I know youth, and they know to wear headphones, not only for yourself, but like for the people around you, right? You want to make sure you don't miss out on anything. So I think that would have been an opportunity to teach someone, and everyone would have loved you for it.
Hey, Gregor, I was sitting in Subway while you were there. That lady's phone was annoying Clayton. Unbelievable. Clayton was in there. Sitting right on basically on the opposite side. It was, you walk in, it was the one off 170th Street, just down the street from us. Clayton, oh man, it was brutal. Like, I'm in line, and he was sitting there, so he had to be there a lot longer than I was. It's awful. It's Gregor, it's none of our business. See, I totally disagree. Why? Why do I have to be annoyed and irked by somebody who's just sitting there? Like, get outside if you want to watch it on your phone. I'm sorry, man. I'll disagree. None of our business. No.
If she was in her house doing that, it's none of your business. You're in a public space.
Yeah, in an
There's a courtesy
inside
there.
enclosed building. Hey guys, 100% drives me crazy when people are talking on the phone on their speaker in public. If you can't afford headphones, then use the earpiece. Yeah, that is another weird one now, how it's like they carry your phone away from you and you put it on speaker and they're just like, and they always talk louder when it's away from them. You ever notice that? Like they put the phone to their ear. Hello. Yes. How are you? Good. Now you put the phone in your hand away. Hey, how you doing? Good. Yeah, everything's good. Like, why? Why is that? It's amazing. But seems weird to me, man. Very weird to me. So.
Just a lack of awareness.
Yeah. It's brutal. Hey, guys, love hearing you guys back on air. The new channel comes in much better in Red Deer. Hey, we love it. Tune in. We like it. It's great. A few other quick ones coming in. Hey, boys, is the game on TV tonight? It is not. It's on Orders Plus, the final 2 preseason games. Now, the Seattle game might be on the Center Ice package on Friday. And here's one thing. When you watch the game on Orders Plus, they had the Seattle feed early. Seattle actually plays replays during the live play. We have to talk about that. I can't be the only one who saw that. I thought it was very weird. Like the game was on and they were showing a replay. I'm like, what is happening here? So at first I thought it was just once, but no, they did it multiple times. It's very weird. Very weird. Do you like it though? I'm curious. I didn't, but then just because I'm not used to it. Have yourselves a wonderful night. Carry us coming up tomorrow morning at 7. Of course, we have Fox Sports at 9 p.m. tonight. Let's get to the Con Man and a Sports Center update brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home with no payments, no interest for 1 year on your furnace. Stay warm all winter at legacyheating.ca. Good night. Enjoy the oil game.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Yes, the Oilers in action tonight, hosting the Flames down at Rogers Place. Puck drop just after 7 o'clock. 3 games underway right now, all at the first intermission. Sabres trail the Blue Jackets 2-1. Penguins up on the Wings 1-0, and the Devils lead the Rangers 2-0. One other game tonight, Kraken and Canucks. That one starting at 8 o'clock. Major League Baseball, the Jays officially eliminated after they were shut out by the Minnesota Twins. 2-0 Minnesota will take on the Houston Astros. On the other side of things, the Rangers advancing as they beat the Rays 7-1 today. They'll take on the number 1 seed Baltimore Orioles. The Milwaukee Brewers right now looking to get back into their series. They lead the Diamondbacks 2-0 in the top of the third. And later tonight, the Phillies look to wrap up their series with the Marlins. That one gets going at 6 o'clock. The Oil Kings on the road tonight in Saskatoon, taking on the Blades. That one gets going in about 10 minutes time. And one game in the AJ, the Spruce Grove Saints and Lloyd taking on the Bobcats. That one starting at 7. That'll do it for us here tonight. We've got Fox Sports Radio coming up at 9, and then at 7 a.m. tomorrow, it's Carius and Douglas with guest host Ladislav Schmid. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 Update.
This is Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free iHeartRadio app and listen to CKJR wherever you go.
At Fountain Tire,